Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Uring, and I'm currently serving as the mayor here in Malibu. And I'm honored today to welcome you all to join us in a program celebrating Earth Month here in Malibu. Today we are hosting the Watershed Coordinator, Melinda Watts, and the North Santa Monica Bay Watershed Steering Committee, which includes the city of Calabasas, Westlake Village, Agoura Hills, and the Los Angeles County. Would all the elected officials just stand up for a second? Very good. Thank you very much. And all you folks from those other cities, you ought to stop by more often. We're glad to have you here. It's nice to have you show up. At 109 square miles, the Malibu Creek watershed is one of the largest discrete watersheds draining into Santa Monica Bay. Malibu Creek and its tributaries reach out into Ventura County, and then they wind their way through the Santa Monica Mountains in neighborhoods like yours until they eventually reach Santa Monica Bay. Now, this is not a solitary journey. On this trip, the watershed touches over 900,000 human residents in 5 cities and unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County, and it supports countless plant and animal species. Unfortunately, today, many of those animal species are currently listed as endangered or threatened. So protecting the watershed is important not only for residential quality of life, but also to ensure the long-term health of our ecosystem. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but the efforts of the Watershed Committee are mirrored in the responsibilities Malibu residents were tasked with when Malibu's general plan was written. Our general plan reminds us, the residents of Malibu are responsible custodians of the area's natural resources for present and future generations. And I believe that is a noble task that the majority of Malibu residents accept. So on behalf of our current residents of Malibu, I thank you all for the work you are doing. And I may be getting ahead of myself over my skis on this one, but I believe the future generations will also look back and thank you for your efforts. So thank you all very, very much. And with that, let me turn it over to Jeremy Wolf. Jeremy, come on up. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for hosting us in the city of Malibu. It is now my honor. I'm going to be providing the land acknowledgement today for this meeting. And the city of Agoura Hills recently implemented a policy where we do a land acknowledgement before every meeting. So I think that's a really respectful way to honor the ancestral lands we are living and playing on. So the North Santa Monica Bay watershed recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Sereno, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders, their descendants past and present, and emerging as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that colonization resulted in unfortunate land seizures, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County, of Malibu, and the Santa Monica Mountains. We are grateful to have this opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands, and we are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples. So with that, thank you for providing the opportunity, and Melina, thank you for allowing this. And I think we were gonna have Senator Ben Allen, but I think I'm gonna turn it over to my dear friend Aaron Ordwaller from the County of Los Angeles, who's doing incredible things with Supervisor Horvath, improving our water quality throughout the county. So Aaron, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the City of Malibu for hosting us today. It's always so nice to be in Malibu. I'm Aaron Nordauer. I'm Supervisor Lindsay Horvath's environmental deputy, and I get to work with many of you in the room on our environmental agenda, especially water, clean, safe, reliable water throughout the 3rd district here, from Malibu up through the Santa Monica Mountains and across LA County. Supervisor Horvath wishes that she could be here herself. She really is deeply personally committed to this work and cares so much about it, sends her regrets that she couldn't be here herself, but wanted to share a few things just with everybody in the room about what has been accomplished to date with Safe Clean Water and where we're headed. The Safe Clean Water program, LA County's signature clean water program, voted in by the voters of LA County with Measure W about 5 years ago, has now committed more than $1 billion in projects around LA County to strengthen our water supply, clean our water, and also make sure that we're promoting nature and nature-based solutions in all corners of our county. It's a real unique and important program that we have here in LA County. And the supervisor, through board actions and a biennial review that was just completed of the program, is really working with our partners here and how do we take this program into the next generation, the next 4 years, the next $1 billion of investment to balance all the things we care about. And we're looking forward to having you with us on all of that. The county passed its first water plan, the very first time that all the water stakeholders of LA County have gotten together to agree on shared principles. There's more than 200 water agencies in LA County. It's very decentralized approach here. So we're bringing together around a shared vision, and just on Monday we're going to be convening all of those water stakeholders together in Alhambra at Public Works headquarters for the first Water Resiliency Summit, really kicking off the implementation of that goal. Finally, I know you all care deeply about the coast and our coastal resiliency. We've been working hard with many of you in the room on how do we strengthen our coastline, working with nature, thinking about ways to make sure that our beaches and our beautiful coast are preserved for the next generations to come. And I know that the Safe Clean Water program is a key tool for making that happen. We look forward to working with all of you. Just in closing, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who is engaged, for the fellow commissioners on the Safe Clean Water program who are here. And I'd like to just give a round of applause to Melina Watts, who does so much. She works tirelessly, she's entrepreneurial, she makes connections, she cares about this work, and we wouldn't be here for sure today without her. So thank you so much, Melina. Thank you to all of you, and we look forward to continuing this work and this partnership together. Thanks all.
Thank you, Aaron. You're too kind. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce the chair and vice chair of the North Santa Monica Bay Watershed Area Steering Committee. Madeline Glickfield is our chair. Jessica Forte is our vice chair. And honestly, I couldn't tell you which of the two women is smarter. They are very interesting, brilliant ladies that I get to work with all the time. And they are here to give a prize, the second annual Watershed Prize.
Thank you. It's been a great year for the WASC, for the watershed. We've made, for the first year, I think we made some progress this year, a lot. We have a project that is going before the Board of Supervisors on our recommendation from the city of Agoura that's actually going to capture and treat water, and they'll be drinking it. So it's going to be, well, there'll be things that happen to it before they drink it. So I didn't say that correctly. So, we have given a lot of thought to making sure that we give a lot of appreciation to the people who do the hard work to get these projects to us and actually get them done. It's easy to think of a project. It's another thing to design it, to fund it, and to build it. And that's what we're about, and we want to recognize the people that are. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Jessica, because she knows the person we're honoring today better than I.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is really a huge honor for me to present the second ever Watershed Prize to an individual whose dedication and tireless commitment have quietly transformed the landscape of stormwater management in this region. And I speak of none other than everybody's favorite guy, Kelly Fisher. Right? I'm right. He's a cornerstone of our community's environmental stewardship for over 2 decades. He's the man behind the Medea Creek Naturalization Project. Seriously, getting a nature-based solutions project funded through the state and then constructed on LA County property over a decade ago, not easy. So, but Kelly, like with everything he does, did it with grace and determination and grit. From grant writing with Melina and Ramiro, to wrangling red tape to secure our retention release, and transforming a concrete channel into a vibrant ecosystem teeming with life. Really, if you haven't been up to the Medea Naturalization Project, I encourage you to visit it in Agora Hills. It is absolutely beautiful. Kelly's also been the driving force behind our regional stormwater monitoring plan and enhanced watershed management plan. He acts as the lead agency for our Malibu Creek watershed. He's the project manager for the stormwater diversion project to sewer that we'll be discussing later today, and Madeline was kind enough to mention. Kelly's not just about big projects and programs, though. When a storm hits, he's the first on the scene to make sure that everything is under control 24/7. He's led our creek cleanups for as long as anyone in Agora Hills can remember. He's run watershed education programs at all 4 of our local elementary schools, and he's kicking that back off this year after a little hiatus during COVID. This guy, I mean, he can digest the most technically loaded reports, pull an errant kayak out of our creek, project manage anything I throw at him, and he does it with this unwavering patience and humility. I used to worry about his work-life balance too, but look at his beautiful family. His wife Irene, his kids Hannah and Jack, from photos of their 12-foot Christmas trees, to outings with his family, to beers with Jack and Hannah, and Jack's recent acceptance into both Berkeley and Santa Barbara. He somehow managed to do that impeccably too. So the world would be a little better if we were all like Kelly Fisher. Kelly, it's such an honor to get to work with you shoulder to shoulder every day. I've learned so much from you about Agora and just how to raise my own kids and how to be a little bit more of a patient person. I'm not well known for that. In recognition of your contributions to the watershed management and environmental stewardship, it's with great pride that we bestow upon you the North Santa Monica Bay Watershed Prize. Thank you, Kelly. You're very deserving. Yeah. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it over to one. Yeah, absolutely. Can we do it with Jeremy up here? Maybe Mr. Odower, too, would you like to join us to shake for a photo and then...
Stay up here because we have something else to present on behalf of Supervisor Horvath. We have this beautiful commendation, Kelly, to mark this occasion. I just wanted to share on behalf of the supervisor. You know, Kelly, you are a standout example that the concept that all conservation is local. When it comes to sustaining local water quality, your relentless attention to detail and maintenance, it's vital. You've been a champion in this space day in and day out, managing the contracts to track NPDES compliance, both for Agora Hills and the sister hills of Westlake Village and Calabasas. Every year, you lead Agora Hills' all-volunteer creek cleanup day, and when the city obtained funding to take on the city council's long-cherished dream of restoring a piece of Medea Creek that runs through Chumash Park, you and Ramiro at Diva managed the project, even though it had hit an unexpected spring sprouting water at high pressure. So you're funny, kind, hardworking, and Supervisor Horvath would like to commend you for being totally committed to our local watershed and our county. So congratulations.
I'm stepping in now for a quick story. So the year is 2012, and my hair's long. It's like starting to thin, but I really want to get involved in community organizing, and the current mayor of Agora, Lise Buckley Weber, said there's an opportunity to take over this creek cleanup event. And she connected me with the City of Agora Hills staff member, Kelly Fisher. And Kelly was the first Agora Hills staff member I interacted with, and this was before this was an official city event. And Kelly didn't ask any other questions but, when do you want to do this and how can I help? And he got a dumpster and a porta potty there for the first creek cleanup in 2012. And since that event. We've done it every year, and Kelly is responsible for helping to remove over 50,000 pounds of trash from the Medea Creek and the Malibu Creek watershed. And his effort leading this, supporting this, has been so influential in my life and the water quality in the Santa Monica Mountains. So I couldn't think of someone who deserves this prize more. So congratulations, Kelly, and thank you for all you do.
Okay, so I'm supposed to tell you about the Safe Clean Water Program, and I have 2 minutes to do it, which I am pretty sure is going to be a record across LA County. We have our slide, please? I don't know how it works, so, but someone's talking at me. Yay, okay. So welcome to the North Santa Monica Bay State of the Watershed 2024. The Safe Clean Water Program is really awesome, and that slide is not showing up. Do I click? Okay, there we go. Okay. So Measure W is the Safe Clean Water Program, and it provides local dedicated funding to increase our local water supply, improve water quality, and protect public health. This is a snapshot of the 9 watersheds in LA County. We're the one on the far west. And this is a closer snapshot of us. And as you can see, there's a lot of sub-watersheds. So the North Santa Monica Bay includes Topanga, Malibu, and all the fun little ones that you love to go hiking in. So the question is, can we improve local water quality? Can we increase local water supply? And most importantly, how can we pay for it? So Measure W, as mentioned, was passed in 2018, and the concept is a property tax of 2.5 cents per square foot of impermeable surface per property across LA County. That ends up being $300 million annually. So the question is, can we use that funding for good projects and make a cultural shift towards creating local sustainable water supply? So here's the amounts currently available in our little fund for North Santa Monica Bay. And the funding categories, you guys, there's infrastructure projects, which are the big ones, right? Then we have about 100,000-ish per year for scientific studies, so we can figure out, are we doing the right thing to improve water quality? If any of you guys in this audience are brilliant scientists, talk to me after. We're looking for cool projects. Finally, we have the Technical Resources Program, and I really want to call this out to any community members. If you have a project in your head of something you want to do, this will get you $300,000 worth of a consultant to help you develop the project and write an application, and it's totally awesome, and we need to take advantage of it. My job involves talking with water with these nice young guys from Calabasas. Love them. Talking about potential projects with our community stakeholders, and talking about outside funding. And I often end up co-writing grants, whether that's a SD3 grant for Supervisor Horvath. I'm really excited because I was just told there's an X-Prize application for $70 million, and I'm hoping that Ocean Well and Las Virgenes Municipal Water District can step up to the plate. If you want to talk safe, clean water with me, there's my phone number. Take a snapshot, guys, or reach me out to me afterwards. And welcome. How's that? 2 minutes, guys. So the next person that I have coming up is Oliver Schlosser, and he's going to tell us about the Pure Water Project at Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. I just want to share with you that I personally think that this is Star Trek science come to life. Love it. Come on up.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the City of Malibu for having us. Congratulations, Kelly. Well deserved. We can bring the slides up. Want to tell you about our Pure Water Project. I'm Oliver Schlosser, the Engineering Program Manager for Las Virgenes Water District. Pure Water Program is a joint project that we're delivering with Triumpha Water and Sanitation District through our JPA. It'll be a first of its kind advanced treatment facility that we're building in the city of Agoura Hills.
Sorry, just one moment. We're putting your slides up right now.
Yeah.
We have the slides ready. It'll be up in just a moment.
So I've got about 10 minutes or maybe about 9 now and about 39 slides. So some of these are going to be going pretty quickly. But again, I'm the program manager, so I'll be the one at Las Virgenes responsible for delivering this project. I've got a few different topics here, but essentially we'll be covering why we're doing the project, what the drivers are, how we're going to comply with our MPDS permit for Malibu Creek once this project comes, a little bit about our demonstration facility, our water augmentation approach, public outreach, and how we're going to pay for it. So with that, really the driver for pure water is Malibu Creek. The Tapia Water Reclamation Facility currently discharges very clean Title 22 compliant recycled water into Malibu Creek. However, our future permit limitations are going to make that very expensive to do. And we would have to add additional treatment to Tapia while discharging this precious resource. So in order to comply with our future limitations for nitrogen and phosphorus, the JPA decided to develop a pure water project and take any excess water and turn it into potable drinking water. So this will help create a local supply of water for us. Currently, for Las Virgenes, we import all of our water from Northern California, so this will be our first local supply, and it'll help us balance the seasonal variation we see in our recycled water system. So really, it's a one water mentality that our JPA has decided to pursue. We want to be sure that the water that we are importing from Northern California, that we're making the best use of it as possible. There are times with the Pure Water Project, we'll be removing pretty much all of our discharge to Malibu Creek from Tapia, but there will be times where we do need to send water to the creek to maintain minimum flows for endangered species and fish. In the future, we'll be doing that with with potable water, and because of how because of the limitations on phosphorus and nitrogen, we'll actually need to treat that with chlorine and then dechlorinate. Absolutely. Sorry about that. We'll have to chlorinate it and dechlorinate it. So any discharge to the creek will be from a potable water supply moving forward, and there'll be sometimes during extreme wet weather where we may discharge from Tapia, but it'll be a much more diluted water that's being sent. I invite you all to come visit our demonstration facility. It's been going since 2020. It's at our headquarters on Las Virgenes Road. It's a public outreach facility where we can show the community what we're going to be doing with the full-scale facility. It also helps us train our operators, make sure that we're using the right type of equipment, and that we're optimizing the building that we're going to be building as much as possible. So it'll ultimately help us save cost. And you can taste the water. Thank you so much. I forgot the most important part, and it's delicious too. We run tours for the public, so please invite you all to come out if you haven't seen it already. This is the facility itself and some of the processes in there, and some of the benefits I just spoke about, but being able to train our operators on how this technology works is a very important part of the program. So just a quick overview of what Pure Water actually is. It's a first of its kind for LA County surface water augmentation indirect potable reuse project. So what that means is we're taking reclaimed water, treating it to advanced standards, and then sending it to our Las Virgenes reservoir, where it will then be detained there for several months before being treated again through through Westlake filtration plant and sent to our potable system. So this is this is only the third project in California and the first one in LA County. So this new AWPF, which you see on the black square there, it fits into our other facilities, taking water from Tapia, sending it to our reservoir, which then gets treated through Westlake. And it uses 3 processes in order to clean that water. Membrane filtration, reverse osmosis, and then UV AOP. So these 3 processes are the exact same ones we have at the demonstration facility. We'll just be building a scaled up version on Agoura Road. This shows you where these facilities are geographically from each other. What's important to note here is one of the challenges that we do have with the project is going to be connecting all these facilities together. So in addition to building a new 6 million gallon per day treatment plant, the project also involves over 20 miles of pipeline, the largest one of which is to convey the salt brine to a regional salinity management pipeline run by Callegas Municipal Water District. So the Advanced Water Purification Facility is going to be sited on Agoura Road, at 30800 Agoura Road to be exact. It's right by the cross street with Lindero, by the border with Westlake Village. It's a empty site as of now, and we have just begun design. So we're looking at starting construction around 2025. When we took this site over, our JPA board adopted 10 policy principles. I won't go through all of these, but really the overall intent from our JPA board was to work regionally with this project, work with the city of Agoura Hills, build something that the whole community could be proud of, and to keep as much open space as possible as well. This is a conceptual layout. As I mentioned, we just brought our progressive design builder on board in March. So it gives an idea of how the different facilities needed to run a plant like this could be sited, but we're really going at a 10% level of design right now. So this is all to be fine-tuned and designed over the next year and a half. And this is the site itself. As you can see on the west side of the site that abuts the apartment complex there, we have left that as open space. Again, this is pretty conceptual, so subject to change, but we have made a commitment to try and to limit the building itself to the east side of the site. And this is architectural rendering that we've done of how the facility could look. Again, we're at a 10% level of design, so this is very subject to change, but we did want to produce this during the pre-design stage to show that we are committed to building a attractive building that's in keeping with the Lady Face corridor, which has a lot of very amazing buildings all on that corridor. This is a top view of that site, but again, very subject to change at this 10% design level. I'll go through these quickly, but as I mentioned, there's over 20 miles of pipeline, the longest one being the green line you see there, which is the concentrate line that conveys salt from the reverse osmosis process to a regional salinity management pipeline, which then takes it to an ocean outfall. We'll also have a purified water line that takes the purified water to the reservoir, a source water line that brings Title 22 recycled water to the facility, and then a residual line where residuals from the facility can be sent back to sewer and starts the process all over again. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. These are alignments that we had in our environmental study. It does look like these are probably the final alignments that the progressive design builder will use, but as you can see, these pipelines go through some pretty busy right-of-ways. It's going to be really important for us to work closely with our neighboring cities, make sure that we mitigate impacts to the public as much as possible. We don't want people sitting in traffic as they're trying to get their kids to school. So we're going to work our hardest to make sure that we're that we have traffic control that takes that into account. So augmentation, this is, I think, really an important part for what we're all gathered here today for. But because this facility is treating excess recycled water, and recycled water is demanded a lot in the summer, not as much in the winter, it means that we'll have a lot of water to treat in winter and not much or maybe none at all during the summer. So it presents an opportunity to work within our region to find additional sources of water, so we're utilizing the plant at full capacity the entire year round. So we actually have, and you'll hear more about it, but a pilot project with the city of Agoura Hills, and we're working with the other cities as well to find dry weather diversion that we can send to the plant during the summer so that we are keeping it running. From an operational standpoint, this helps us as well. It's very difficult to turn off a reverse osmosis membrane. You have to pickle it, and it's a high cost, and it degrades the life of the membrane. So the more water we can actually push through this plant, the better it is for everybody. Public outreach has been a very important aspect for us. We want to be sure that that we're getting the word out there that this is very safe, the cleanest water that we've ever served. And we have an amazing public outreach team at Las Virgenes. We've done pure water tasting series where we brewed coffee, made gelato, brewed beer with this pure water. They were very popular events. We have a project website with a digital library, has all the studies that we put together. As I said, we host tours at the demonstration facility, which are very popular. We also have a sustainability garden there, so you can help plan your drought-tolerant landscape while you learn about pure water. And if you haven't heard me talk enough today, we also have our Full Circle podcast, which I'm a guest on one of the episodes. But this has been really popular, our podcast series. It's on iTunes and Spotify. But it really does a deep dive into not only the Pure Water Project, but a lot of the issues that we face at Las Virgenes and how we face those challenges. So everybody always wants to know what's this going to cost. At the moment, the program is estimated to cost $364 million. It's one of the bigger undertakings we've ever had. So with that, we want to make sure that we're mitigating impacts to the customer. Even though it sounds like a big number spread out between all of our customers, it actually is, not as not as bad as it sounds, I guess. But we're also trying to find grants, public funding, ways to mitigate that impact. So we actually were able to get 10.2 million from Bureau of Reclamation last year. We're in the process of going for another 20 million. We also are in the process of getting state revolving fund funding, WIFIA loans, and then our partners, MWD, have authorized us for their local resource program, which will help mitigate the cost of actually operating the facility as well. So we're very thankful to all of those agencies for their support. Lastly, I'll just touch on the schedule. So we've been planning in the pre-planning phase since 2016. This has been 8 years in the process. We are now into really the design and construction phase. So we brought on Walsh Construction, Brown and Caldwell and Carollo as our progressive design builder in March. They're going to really design and build the facility itself, as well as the reverse osmosis concentrate pipeline, and they may end up working on the other 3 pipelines as well. We're doing some testing in our reservoir right now to make sure that it can provide the mixing and detention time that we need. And then there's also upgrades that we're going to need to do to some of our other facilities, adding storage within our systems and improving pump stations to make sure that we can convey the water to the new facility. And if everything goes right and I do my job, we should hopefully have a working facility in early 2028. Our deadline for complying with the Malibu Creek TMDL is 2030, so that gives me about 2 years afloat, which if there's any project managers in the room, is not a lot for a project like this. So, we got to keep the momentum going, but luckily we've got some great partners, and so far so good. So with that, I hope I didn't go too much over time. All right, thank you so much.
So I want to pause and welcome our other guests on Zoom. We have 24 people who are not in this room, but they're in this room with us, so let's emotionally include them. And I have to say, I got a call late afternoon that left me so excited. I'm very honored that we have our very own Senator Ben Allen here today. So please come up.
First of all, let me start by saying these. I was just saying to Mayor Euring, these have to be the most comfortable city hall seats that I've ever sat. I've been in a lot of city halls, and oftentimes I was up on. In fact, they're much more comfortable than the seats on the dais. But it's like a movie-going experience. So I just want to congratulate you on those wonderful seats. But I did want to take a moment to just be here, because this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I now have the great honor of being able to represent the entire Santa Monica Mountains of the LA County, on the LA County side. And I grew up loving these mountains, hiking. I got to know nearly every canyon of the mountains as a kid growing up hiking with my father. And so it's an area of real kind of passion and love for me, but it's also become this area has become a real area of policy work. Over the past couple of years, I've been engaging in a lot of work, not just to strengthen our water infrastructure at the state level, and also the mitigation of climate fuel threats to our water supply, but also modernizing some of the laws that govern our ability to do so in the first place. And we've got this wildly diverse and fragmented and inefficient water rights system here in the state of California that really does often complicate our conservation efforts. Those who divert surface water from state waterways to use on adjacent lands don't need to obtain prior approval from state water regulators to do so, nor do users who divert water for shipment and application away from a waterway, if they or their predecessors can claim to have secured their appropriative water right from before 1914. So only those California water appropriators who've perfected their water rights after 1914 are required to comply with the permit system that's administered by our state water board. And as incredible as that may seem, this means that a large percentage of current California water users basically operate under an honor system. And that gets very tricky when water becomes expensive and incredibly valuable. So, many riparian and pre-19 appropriators have in the past taken the position that the State Water Board lacks the authority to even question, confirm, seek verification of their private water rights claims. So, so we've been part of a broader statewide legislative effort to try to challenge this system. And of course, as you can expect, it's been difficult. But the idea being to remedy this and to ensure that we have accurate accounting for every drop that can possibly be conserved, and so that the water board can actually do the job that it's been tasked with, overseeing this massively difficult and complicated system. I introduced legislation last year, a part of a package of bills that I just wanted to mention today. SB 389 that we put in last year to put to rest any ambiguity regarding the water board's power to require water users to verify their water rights claims, regardless of whether they're subject to the board's permitting system. The measure, thankfully, was the only one of our water rights bills that made its way through. And it's the first time that there's been any significant work in water rights for a long time. The one great exception being SGMA that Senator Pavley worked on. But even before that, and that not only treats a certain area of this space, it's been such a difficult area to do legislative work, and it really does remind me of that wonderful Mark Twain quote about how, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting over. And it's an age-old challenge in the West, where we have both the blessings and curse of the English common law. English common law, I'm a lawyer, I love it, but man, it was written for a very different climate with a very different amount of rain than we have here in the West. So the measure now gives, so our bill that was just signed by Governor Newsom last fall now explicitly gives our statewide water board the authority, which most observers, quite frankly, always believe that they always had, to place that burden of proof squarely on the private water users who assert those rights. Now, the challenge, of course, is when people thought it already had it, but that didn't stop tons and tons of expensive litigation that really bogged down our ability to do our work as a state. The law also has teeth. It allows the water board, upon investigation of a water rights claim it ultimately finds to be undocumented or otherwise defective, to declare the offending water user's continued diversion and use of state water to be an illegal trespass. So this now explicitly places the responsibility of demonstrating the validity of a claimed water right on the private water user. And that's as it should be, considering that longstanding California water law also explicitly provides that the waters of California are a public resource that's a core kind of value in our water law. So as I mentioned, this bill is part of a broader effort by the legislature in recent years to reform and update our water laws. And it's something we have to do because we've got so much more water rights out there than we have water. And while we've gotten a bit of a reprieve from the last couple of years because of all the atmospheric rivers, I'm looking at friends from, we're talking about the state of the watershed. You all know, those of you who represent cities like Agoura and Calabasas, there was a moment where it looked like you were going to just be cut off from the state water project altogether and you have no real aquifer. What the heck are you going to do? So we were all facing a crisis that has been temporarily relieved, but until we get a handle on this system statewide, we're going to be facing increasing challenges to just provide basic water for our residents. So it's why we really have to spend some time on this. So as I say, there's been folks who've been trying to do work in this space, and I've really been, as I say, dipping my toe into this area, no pun intended. But I did a bill a couple of years ago, SB 1205, that explicitly directed the state board to consider the effects of climate change when reviewing applications for new and modified water rights permits. You can't just use historical data when we know that the future is going to be so different than the past. Last year, Buffy Wicks from the Berkeley area, assembly member who is now the Appropriations Committee chair, she introduced AB 1337, which clarifies the state water board's authority to curtail all surface water rights when necessary to achieve water conservation goals in times of state drought. The measure passed the Assembly. It's currently under consideration in the Senate. struggling to get out of the water committee, which unfortunately is not as environmentally oriented as it was in the past. I serve on the committee, and I certainly very much support this bill. We're hoping that we can get some more support from a couple other members, but it's always an uphill battle, especially when all these water agencies and districts kick in and get so nervous about any changes that might be made. And I say to some of you who are water professionals, please help us in this effort. Part of how we were able to get our bill across the finish line in the end, in spite of massive opposition initially, is that I think the folks who work professionally in water realize that while any change in water rights law makes them nervous, they also recognize that change is necessary given the massive delta between the amount of water that we have available to us and the water rights that are out there. And then you understand that the long-term stability of the system requires greater greater authority in the hands of the water board that have been tasked with the sacred responsibility associated with ensuring an equitable and sustainable system for the state. We're also seeking to make significant investments to upgrade our water infrastructure statewide, most of which was built in the previous century to withstand the many challenges wrought by a worsening climate crisis. We've got a climate bond measure, as you know, that's out there currently, SB 867, that I introduced last year. That if we'll double down if passed by the voters. The idea is it will double down on recent federal investments made by President Biden's recent major, both the Inflation Reduction Act, which I always thought was, and a couple other major expenditures that will also dovetail with state budget allocations to help finance climate resiliency projects. And a lot of them, of course, will be water related. By the way, when we pull this stuff, water and fire, that's what people care most about on the environmental infrastructure side consistently. People really care about water and water quality, water safety. It's a top pillar amongst our residents. And I think folks know that as our water supply becomes increasingly strained by climate-fueled drought and and also just the widespread aridification in the West, the idea is that we need a measure that we can put forward that will ensure that both state and local jurisdictions have adequate resources in the coming years to expand water recycling and reuse while also improving sustainable capture and storage of the runoff and snowmelt from the winter storms. Let me give a special shout out to our friends here from West Virginia's Water District, who last year took me on one of these wonderful tours of their facilities, briefed me on the Pure Water Project, which will include state-of-the-art technology to strengthen all of your city's water supplies through potable reuse. And I'm just excited to see this presentation just now. And I mean, from my perspective, it's exactly the kind of innovative project that we're hoping to support. The measure was approved by the Senate last summer. We're currently in negotiations with the Assembly and the governor. The Assembly has its own climate resiliency measure as well. Regardless of the final outcome, I can assure you that bringing California's water regime into the 21st century remains a top priority in Sacramento, though there are lots of vested interests that have very strong opinions about what direction that path ought to take. So, I want to personally thank the people in the room who have really taken on such a great leadership role, and your example is one that we can bring up to Sacramento as we are looking statewide for solutions. And I know we've got some real innovators here in the room that are both local leaders, but your example is going to help us as we try to push people in Sacramento to understand that we can innovate, we can do better, we can be smarter in the way we manage these challenges. I'm actually going to be doing a water conservation webinar on May 1st at 4 p.m. Check it out. It's an example of the great partnership that we have. It's just we try to help educate folks about water conservation efforts. I think a lot of people assume that we're out of the woods just because of all the rain we've had, and while it was a very welcome reprieve, know that this is a long-term challenge that we're all going to have to face. And I thank you all for taking this issue so seriously and for being such great partners in this effort. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, and look forward to the next presentation. I'm going to stick around for a little bit, but it is an honor to be part of this really important discussion today. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So we're sort of on schedule, but I encourage everyone to try to keep to your minutes so that we actually get out of here by 4, because I promised Malibu in my honor that we would. So the next person up is from Los Angeles County Public Works, one of my favorite people, Alberto Grajeda. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. First of all, let's give another round of applause to Melina and the rest of the Malibu team for putting this together, and for also giving us the opportunity to be here as well.
Before you start, I just want to remind all speakers to please speak into the microphone so those who are attending remotely could please hear you when you are saying all these great things.
Can everybody hear me? All right. Excellent. There we go. Thank you very much. So it's been a while since I've actually been in a room full of people to do some public speaking, so I feel like I have to dust off the cobwebs a little bit. Everything's been virtual, so it's a very, very welcome surprise, I guess. My name is Alberto Grajeda. I'm with the Los Angeles County Public Works. Joining me today as well is Mr. Diego Carrizo, and we are here to present to you today 2 very wonderful projects that we're excited to be implementing in the North Santa Monica Bay watershed area, and that is the View Ridge Road and Liberty Canyon Road project updates. There you go. First, let's begin with View Ridge Road. View Ridge is located at the top of Topanga, beautiful 12,000 plus acre watershed area in the unincorporated county area of Topanga. More specifically, we are looking into the View Ridge community to implement water quality BMPs, or rather just structural control measures to help address water quality. The drainage area of the View Ridge community is approximately 80 acres, and we are aiming to provide water quality improvements to both stormwater and urban water runoff. And we're going to be placing project elements to help address this in View Ridge Road, Hodler Drive, and Chagall Road and Voltaire Drive. So how do we plan on actually doing this? So the way we plan on actually addressing the water quality from this drainage area is by intercepting existing storm drains that are underground and running them through a series of different vault type systems. The first would be for the pretreatment unit, which is designed to mostly separate a lot of the heavier solids, trash, sediments, things of that nature, before we go and divert this water into larger vault type systems that are going to be using engineered soil media to address bacteria, nutrients, metals, things of that nature. All of this is meant to actually just address and protect the beneficial uses of the water bodies within the Topanga watershed, which are Topanga Canyon Creek and ultimately the greater Santa Monica Bay. Furthermore, in order to make this a truly multi-benefit project, in addition to these underground, gray types of infrastructure, we're actually looking to build a new raised center median that is going to include a planting schedule with drought-tolerant native landscaping and the opportunity to actually plant up to 16 new trees. The tree species are actually Western redbuds and the toyon trees. So we have an opportunity to place up to 16 trees in this median. With all of these combined, we are expecting to address some of the climate changes that we are facing by providing and promoting a healthier environment by this new landscape median. In addition, we are aiming to reduce heat climate effect and increase the urban canopy within the area as well, and also use drip irrigation for approximately 2 years for the plants to go ahead and establish themselves before we can actually depend less on the drip irrigation water. In addition, why are we doing this? It's mostly just to protect the beneficial uses of Topanga Canyon Creek and the greater Santa Monica Bay, with trying to focus on our different targeted pollutants, which are trash, sediment, and bacteria, and also toxics, for example, like DDTs and PCBs as well. A lot of the legacy pollutants that we're facing. We are completing design. Hopefully, by mid 2024. We plan on going to the Board of Supervisors to advertise an award by early 2025. Begin construction around the same time in early 2025, and complete construction by early 2026. And now to present on Liberty Canyon, I'm going to present Mr. Diego Carrizo.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I could put this back. So my name is Diego Carrizo. I'm here to give a brief update on Liberty Canyon Road Green Improvement Project. The project is located in the Malibu Creek Watershed in the unincorporated community of Agoura Hills. More specifically, it will be located in the southern side of Liberty Canyon Road, in between Revere Way and Park Vista Road. The project will aim to capture 0.9 acre-feet of stormwater runoff from a 42-acre tributary area consisting mostly of single-family residences. Where we will manage to treat this water is through the implementation of two distinct flow-through BMP systems that will flow back into Liberty Canyon Channel. The first of these BMP systems will divert water from two separate, already existing underground storm drain systems. The diverted water will first flow through a pretreatment device that will capture the big stuff, so debris, trash, and sediment, before going into a filtration unit. The filtration unit will filter out oil, grease, nutrients, bacteria, before going back into the original storm drain systems and out into the Liberty Canyon Channel. The second BMP system is a 690-foot long bioswale and permeable pavement walkway that will be located on the eastern side of Liberty Canyon Road, between Revere Way and Park Vista Road. So the bioswale will be around 3,500 square feet, and it'll include curb cutouts to allow stormwater runoff from Liberty Canyon Road to go into the swell. The stormwater will be treated using drought-resistant landscaping, native vegetation, and where will after be infiltrated into the ground or flow back into Liberty Canyon Channel. The project will have multiple benefits. First and foremost, it will be to clean the water, provide improving the water quality through the use of the filtration system. The filtration system will help will help us focus on our targeted pollutants, which is bacteria, sediment, nutrients, and trash, stuff that would otherwise end up in the receiving waters of North Santa Monica Bay. The project will also provide and enhance the community by providing passive recreation opportunities through the implementation of the permeable pavement walkway. As it stands now, the project is still in the design phase. It'll finish that in early 2026, whereafter it'll go through its advertising award phase and begin construction in mid-2026. The project is scheduled to complete construction in early 2028. If you have any questions about View Ridge or Liberty Canyon Road, please don't hesitate to email me or Alberto, and we'll get back to you promptly. Thank you very much.
All of that without notes. Whew. The next talk will be a report on the water quality by our cities. There's a collaborative talk. So come on up, and I'll start off with Roxanne Hughes from Westlake Village. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, and thank you for showing up for Safe Clean Water. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues from the North Santa Monica Bay watershed cities. Together, we'll address how stormwater regulations came to be, our regional MS4 permit, and the efforts being made to comply with that permit, specifically in the watershed management plans, outfall monitoring, scientific studies, city-specific projects, the Clean Water Program, all of the projects and programs that our cities undertake, and a look at future permit compliance milestones. So here we go. I think it's common knowledge, the why now story behind the birth of the environmental protections for waters of the U.S. Let's see how much you all know. Can anyone tell me which river is shown here in this famous photograph? Yes, Cuyahoga. And what year was this taken? 1969. This was the 10th fire in 100 years on this river. Time magazine's story on the river sparked national awareness and mobilized the environmental advocates who were successful in getting Richard Nixon to create the United States Environmental Protection Agency in 1970, which coincided with our nation's first Earth Day. Only 2 years later, the Clean Water Act was passed by Congress, officially launching meaningful protections for our nation's waters. However, they were initially only limited to regulating sewage and industrial usage, which admittedly, that's a good start. It wasn't until 2019 that Ohio EPA declared fish from this river safe to eat. 1969 to 2019, think about that. That's 50 years for this river to heal. It did heal. This underscores the urgency of the work that we do today in preventing pollutants from entering the receiving waters in the first place. As is typical, California was proactive in environmental protection in advance of our federal government. Where am I? Oh, yes, okay. With water pollution control regulations dating back to the 1940s. In 1969, the Port of Cologne Water Quality Control Act was enacted here, and it was so influential that it was used as the basis for the Federal Clean Water Act of 1972. In 1987, amendments to the Federal Clean Water Act expanded regulations to stormwater discharges, which further strengthened protections for safe, clean water, and also extended controls over all entities in responsible charge of stormwater runoff, i.e. the municipalities, right? This brings us, oh, I just said that. The EPA now delegates authorities to the states for implementing the Federal Safe Clean Water Act through the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES. The NPDES in California is enforced through Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Permits, or for short, we call them MS4 permits. The permit in the North Santa Monica Bay watershed, which is highlighted in yellow on the map, is enforced by the LA Regional Water Quality Control Board, which is Region 4 of the 11 regional boards in California. The permit was first issued in 1990 and updated in 2001, 2012, and 2021. The 2012 update was particularly significant for two reasons. First, LA County was no longer the principal permittee, and second, because it established numerical limits for pollutants called TMDLs, or total maximum daily loads. As you can see here, Region 4 covers a significant area. Can anyone tell me how many permittees are included in the Region 4 MS4 permit? Anybody know? There's 99 permittees, which captures both LA County and Ventura counties, LA County Flood Control District, Ventura County Watershed Protection District, and 95 incorporated cities. It's massive. The diversity of water resources under our regional board's purview, including snow, desert, coastal conditions, flood, drought potential, reservoirs, lakes, bays, and the varying sophistications of all of the agencies results in a permit that's extremely complex. The North Santa Monica Bay watershed covers a 109 square mile area from Santa Monica Mountains to Santa Monica Bay. It's managed under two watershed management plans. The North Santa Monica Bay Coastal Watershed, which is shown there in the yellow border along the Pacific Ocean, and the Malibu Creek Watershed, which is shown in the brown border extending all the way up into Ventura County. While the county's Department of Public Works and Flood Control District are partners in both of these groups, only the city of Malibu is with them in the coastal watershed, and the cities of Agora Hills, Calabasas, Hidden Hills, and Westlake Village jointly manage the Malibu Creek watershed in partnership with the county. Both watershed management plans were submitted in 2021 and have received conditional approval by Region 4. These plans guide the watershed-wide efforts for compliance with our permit, as well as just our endeavors to create a healthy watershed. One of the greatest challenges in this watershed is how our creeks flow in and out of concrete channels to open creeks, lakes, Malibu Lagoon, and then out to the ocean. The history on that's kind of simple. After devastating floods in the 1930s, LA County channelized its waterways to a large degree in an effort to protect life and property. This photo here is damage from one of those large flooding events, and it included the loss of 11 lives. These channels work perfectly as intended to get water back to the ocean as efficiently and safely as possible. However, over time, it's become apparent that there can be unintended environmental impacts to this approach. At high velocities, water picks up sediment that may have attached nutrients, bacteria, heavy metals, and all kinds of other pollutants. Unfortunately, this makes compliance with the numeric limits established in the MS4 permits extremely challenging, to say the least, right? So there are a myriad of water quality constituents that the North Santa Monica Bay WMPs are tracking for watershed health. However, there is a focus on these pollutants of concern. That's because these are historical pollutants that have been documented in this watershed that can accumulate in fish, birds, and mammals. You might look at these pollutants and concerns and go, hey, wait a minute, nutrients, bacteria, aren't those good things? Well, yeah, depending on the quantity and where they show up. Like bacteria is generally beneficial, however, it can be an indicator of harmful things in the water, and that's how we use it as an indicator. The measure of health in our open waters is directly related to beneficial uses. You might have heard that term earlier. A beneficial use in a creek or a lake or a river is something like quality habitat or aquatic life or recreational uses. We call these beneficial uses. All of these pollutants have numeric limits through TMDLs in our MS4 permit, and most of the water quality concerns by having inappropriate amounts of these pollutants include impacts on aquatic life and recreational uses in our watersheds. So stormwater monitoring is an integral part of assessing our systems. It's basically the eyes and ears of our program, identifying where all of the water quality samples are taken. Both watersheds use a representative approach to water quality analysis that's allowed by the MS4 permit called a Coordinated Integrated Monitoring Plan, or CIMP. That's what we call it, not CHIMP, but CIMP. On this slide, you see the monitoring locations throughout the Malibu Creek watershed, and on this slide, you can see the monitoring locations in the coastal watershed. The monitoring assesses a myriad of chemical, physical, and biological impacts of MS4 outfalls into receiving waters and at the ocean. The locations do include sites in non-urbanized watersheds that are used as a baseline, like way up there in Stokes Creek, to give us a relative comparison like a snapshot in time. By comparing the reference watershed baseline condition to urbanized locations, we can identify the likely source of pollutants, measure effectiveness of the project and program efforts through time, and ultimately assess the long-term health of our open waters. We're hopeful that through implementation of the watershed management plans, we will see improved water quality, development of local water supply, and higher quality habitat through the reduction of pollutants in open water. And CIMPs are the tools that allow us to guide these efforts and monitor these improvements. There are also scientific studies being conducted to evaluate how to comply with the TMDL limits set for nutrients and bacteria in the North Santa Monica Bay. Through consultant contracts regionally funded through the scientific studies program that we heard about earlier, through Measure W, we will be studying the utilization of bacteria as an indicator of degraded water quality in open water, and to consider the feasibility of compliance with the bacteria TMDL numeric targets over the coming years throughout the LA region. In addition, the Malibu Creek Watershed Group has undertaken a nutrient special study. The first phase is complete now, and its early indicators say that it's potential that TMDL changes or exemptions in this area may be warranted based on the results of that initial study. This timeline here overviews the path forward on regional water quality improvement efforts in our North Santa Monica Bay watershed. CIMPs were updated in March 2023, and the watershed agencies entered agreements to continue jointly funding and operating monitoring efforts through 2026. The detailed results of the nutrient study phase 1 will be rolled out very soon, which will inform phase 2 that's slated to begin in 2025 and hoping to be completed just in time to support an informed update of the TMDLs, which are currently slated for compliance in 2026. These studies will also be available to support the required adaptive management process for the watershed management plans that we'll go through in 2026. Think of that like our lessons learned and adapting. The bacteria study is anticipated not to begin until 2029, being a regional effort that's coordinated among many of the watershed area steering committees. It's taking a little time to get rolling, but the intent is that it will eventually add more clarity to how to best protect and improve the health of our watersheds. The watershed management plans, coordinated integrated monitoring plans, and bacteria and nutrient studies will be presented at future meetings of our Measure W North Santa Monica Bay Watershed Area Steering Committees, which are open to the public. So go to the safecleanwaterla.org website and watch for those to land on agenda if you're interested in getting into the weeds with us on our regional planning efforts. This wraps up our regional information, and the next segment of our presentation will be for our cities to showcase the projects we're currently working on. Up next, we're going to have Joe Belomo come up to talk about the standard water quality controls that all the municipalities have in common. Thanks, Joe.
We have 30 minutes for 40 minutes of talks. So since all of you are engineers, I'm going to ask you to shrink your talk by 25%. Thank you.
No problem. I speak in brevity. Anyways, so thank you, Roxanne. So a lot of our, before we get into the city-specific projects that we're all engaged in over the last couple of years, wanted to give you an idea of the efforts that we all have, the programs that we're implementing for every city that are basically requirements of the NPDES permit. The 6 core programs are from the Federal Clean Water Act. They're all brought in as core programs of the municipal MPDS permit. They're up there in blue. The public information and participation, today's event is an example of that. We're meeting outreach requirements through this event and other events. We have commercial and industrial inspections, the planning and land development, where we're doing LID requirements for private developments and certain city projects. We're doing low impacted type development criteria for those type of projects. And then we have our construction program where we're inspecting various construction sites, private and public, to ensure that there's no tracking of sediments off-site and various other things. I have a slide on that. And then our public agency activities section, which is street sweeping and other everyday programs, the day-to-day stuff that our cities do that seem less important, but they have a huge impact on the quality of our water in this watershed. And then our illicit discharge and investigation programs. So So this is some pictures of our construction site inspection program. We go out, we inspect, a number of construction sites. We work with the owners of those sites, or if they're a public site, we're working with our crew to ensure that water quality is going to be maintained throughout the phase of construction. And then I want to say that these are pictures not from our watershed. These are illicit discharges that occurred elsewhere. And this is, an example of some of the things that we would go out and inspect and do a source tracking and figure out what happened. So now we're going to get into some city-specific projects. First up is Jessica from Hidden Hills, Aurora Hills.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jess Forte. I'm the Public Works Director and City Engineer in the city of Agoura Hills. Let me see. I'm going to go through our slides. Here we go. All right. In the city of Agoura Hills, our amazing city council, comprised of our mayor, Elise Buckley-Weber, our mayor pro tem, Penny Sylvester, our council members, Debbie Klein-Lopez and Chris Anstead, and then, of course, the wonderful Jeremy Wolf. They invest financially and physically in keeping our watershed clean. We see all 5 of them out at our creek cleanup days annually. They're just really wonderful. I know Jeremy mentioned this already, but in the more than a decade we've been doing creek cleanups, we've cleared more than 50,000 pounds of trash out of our local creeks, which is, extremely significant. As a city, we perform triannual storm drain inlet cleanouts, removing over 30 tons a year of leaves and debris from entering our storm drain system. And we just recently had the kickoff meeting of our creek naturalization study, which of course Kelly is running. This will help the city determine what opportunities may exist to expand on the success of our Medea Creek naturalization project. We have 2 large capital projects that will break ground next fiscal year: our Ladyface Greenway, and maybe most impactful, our storm drain diversion project, which you'll hear about at length later in today's program. But we anticipate, you guys will love this, that we will be able to divert 1.1 million gallons a day during dry weather to the Tapia Water Reclamation Facility, and 2.2 during the first flush, which means it's really significant. That's about a half of our home's water use. So Agoura Hills is really doing their part. Again, it's these folks making those investments in those projects and letting crazy folks like me and Kelly run with that ball. So Medea Creek was completed, like I said, about 10 years ago. We recently received our final retention release. The project consisted of removing approximately 425 linear feet of concrete channel and construction of a man-made creek stabilized with native vegetation, boulders, and log structures. The project was funded through Proposition 84, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, and city general funds. And it's evident in these photos that the project increased biodiversity and improved ecology through the segment of Medea Creek. That now photo, this is my fault. That's actually a couple years ago. If you go out there now, it is gorgeous. The landscaping has grown in. It's really worth the trip. Emerging science, like the nutrient study that Roxanne spoke to before, points to installations like this one to have a more significant reduction in pollution than alternate infrastructure-heavy projects. So we're really proud to be out ahead of the nature-based solutions curve in that way, and to have this incredible example to share with our water quality counterparts who may have the opportunity to construct something like this in their cities. One of our largest capital projects is our Ladyface Greenway. It's a multi-benefit project that offers non-motorized transit opportunities, but the project also has a capacity of just over 222,000 gallons of stormwater, sending untreated stormwater flow through engineered wetlands and bioswales to reduce the sediment and associated pollutants and trash from entering the Palo Quemado Creek. The design funding for this project was earmarked in the 2018 state budget by the Assembly and managed through the Department of Water Resources. The construction of the project also includes a $6 million earmark from the state, $5.5 million in Measure R local funds generously identified by our LA County Supervisor's Office, and $6 million in Measure M funding from the city's allocation. We will be seeking additional funding to complete the project over the coming year as construction cost escalations have left us about $2 million shy for the full project delivery. But this project would not have been possible at all without some of the advocates in this room. So thank you to the state. Thank you to Supervisor Horvath. I'm very happy to announce that we're opening bids on this project in about 2 weeks and anticipate breaking ground on the first $14 million worth of this project this July. So look out for that invitation. Our other really large project, 30 seconds, I got you, is our storm drain diversion to sewer, which I have the opportunity to talk about in length a bit later, so I'll leave you guys waiting to hear about that one. In conclusion, Agora Hills has always treaded lightly and treated our planet with such respect. Our city is bookended by our first mayor, Fran Pavley, and our most recently elected council member, Jeremy Wolf. So if you know the two of them, you can imagine the incredible environmental legacy that has been woven through our 40 years. And that said, it's left us with a very modest tax base. Can you fellas tell I knew you would be here? So I'd like to thank you so much for the investments you've made in Agora Hills. None of this would be possible without the state and the county supervisor's office. We would be fixing potholes without you guys. So thank you so much. We've been able to do some really, really ambitious, fabulous things in the city of Agora Hills, and it just wouldn't have been possible without those investments. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to the city council and our awesome city manager, Nate Hamburger, who allows us crazy people to do these really innovative things. With that, I'll hand the presentation over to the city of Calabasas to talk about the great work they're doing next door. This is Tatiana Holden.
Thank you, Jessica. My name is Tatiana Holden. I am Deputy Public Works Director for the City of Calabasas. And I will start my presentation with giving thanks to our innovative and supportive City Council, who always support our capital improvement projects. There are a few listed on this slide, and I will talk about them today. And also to our Environmental Commission, who leads our environmental events. And we have recycling drawing content, which I think is very important because it serves as an educational tool for children from very young age. They get involved and they learn about how they can help. And through children, we can remind their parents how they can contribute and participate and help in reduce, reuse, recycle program that City of Calabasas runs. The first project I wanted to talk about today is Las Virgenes Creek Phase 2. At the previous presentation last year, we talked about that we completed the first 2 phases, and we're now getting ready for the next phase. and we got 1.3 million awarded for design. That's through Integrated Regional Water Management Implementation grant, and we're now working on an RFP, and hopefully we'll be able to finish the final design soon, and we will look for funds for construction, and we're working with neighboring agencies and organizations to make sure our projects work together, complement each other, and we just maximize the benefits this project will provide for the watershed. By doing that, we include slope stabilization, construction of additional recreational trails, removal of fish barriers that we worked with California Trout to add actually this to the scope of work a little bit later in the conceptual design of the project, and plant rehabilitation along the creek. If you are free, if you have time, please mark your calendars. On May 11th, we will have a creek tour. One of our engineers is here, Travis Desney, can tell you a little bit more about those wonderful tours. And on May 11th, please join us, and you'll learn more about this project. We'll also have on June 1st, we schedule a creek cleanup event. The next project is in construction currently, is Las Virginias Green Street project. It's at the northern terminus of Las Virginias Road, and please come to visit. Right now it's in construction. Maybe it's not as excited, but we're planning to complete it this summer, so in a few months. Please, if you want to hike beautiful upper Las Virginias Road trail system, please come to Las Virginias Road, park at the very first parking lot so you can add steps to your health monitor. But what this project does, it improves a section of the road, which is about 1,200 feet section of the road. And it used to be just a dirt shoulder where people would park chaotically, which would add pollutants to our to runoffs and to our storm drain system. And we're organizing parking now and creating a drainage system which includes also bioswales. So we'll remove pollutants before it enters the storm drain system. And actually, nature already tested our project this winter. Through the storms we had earlier this year, we saw that actually our drainage works, that the water accumulates where it's supposed to. So once the bioswales are completed, it will provide great benefits. Water conservation efforts that our city has been doing and continuously doing. First, we'll reduce irrigation by installing the smart irrigation controllers through our city, lower floor sprinklers and nozzles, and drip irrigation. We also have Green Street policy. Every single project that we do, the CIP project, we install native drought-tolerant landscape and biorotation bases. And through landscape transition that we're doing throughout our city, citywide, we're replacing non-functional turf with drought-tolerant landscaping. Again, visit. Please contact us if you'd like, and we'll show you all the sites, and you can learn more about that. With this, next city is Hidden Hills. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank the City Council and Hidden Hills for their wonderful support in advancing water quality in our watershed. I want to first, before I get into the three specific projects that we are working on in Hidden Hills, I wanted to talk about the unique characteristics of the city makeup in this watershed. In the North Santa Monica Bay, the city accounts for 0.1% of land area. So it's a very small portion in the upper headwaters of the watershed. Not a whole lot of an impact from a water quality perspective because the city is low-density residential. There's, with the exception of the City Hall, community space, rec center area, and one office building, it's all low-density residential, which that land use is recognized as one of the least urban impacts, pollutant loading matrix, less, the lowest of the in the pollutant loading matrix. So we look for any opportunity, being such a small city, Another unique feature of the city is that 90% of it's a gated HOA, which is essentially one big, large private parcel. So we look for opportunities wherever we can find them to do something for water quality. What we presented on last year was the conversion of the city hall landscaping from potable conventional landscaping to reclaimed water and drought tolerant. So that is still in the works. It's going to most likely be constructed next year if everything happens on time. Another big project that the city's involved with right now is the Long Valley Road entrance project. What I was referring to earlier is the LID, the low impact development aspects of any type of development that we do. We take those principles into account, and this project is no different. It's going to be installing essentially a new parking lot, towards at one of the three entrances to the city. It has on-site bioretention, it has trash mitigation, and other community benefits. And then the third project is not really a structural project. It's more towards monitoring, making sure that whatever leaves the city as far as water quality goes is not going to be an impact to the watershed, or if there is, it's a signal to us to do something to drill down into that problem. So one of the three studies that we have is our special monitoring program, where we grab a water quality sample at our outfalls, we analyze it, and we compare that data against the watershed's data. It has been a very good program to help us dial in our efforts. Our trash monitoring program, we don't have trash retrofits in our city. And the reason being is we're an order of magnitude less than a baseline requirement. There's really not a trash problem in the city. So we do this, to meet compliance with that trash TMDL, we do a study every year. The last one is our outfall screening program. It's similar to when we do our grab sample, we're looking at all the outfalls from the city that go outside of the city limits. So those three programs really help us keep control of what's leaving the city is not going to be an impact to the watershed. Next up is the city of Westlake Village.
Hello again, it's Roxanne. I'm your city engineer in the city of Westlake Village. I oversee the stormwater compliance activities in our neck of the North Santa Monica Bay watershed. I also want to give a shout out to our wonderful city council of the city of Westlake Village for establishing sustainability goals in alignment with the Safe Clean Water program. The support of Mayor Davis, Mayor Pro Tem Honig, council members McSweeney, Halpern, and Pearl is key to us getting things done in our watershed. Westlake Village was awarded a Technical Resource Program grant for planning and design of our Westlake Village MS4 compliance project. So last year at the State of the Watershed, we were applying for this grant, and this year I get to report we got the grant. And right now, we're in the onboarding of the consultant process with hope that the feasibility studies will begin soon. We understand we have a challenge in meeting points threshold to successfully qualify for the use of the Measure W regional money in our cities where we have large swaths of existing open space, high groundwater, limited land availability. Therefore, to leverage water quality, water supply, and nature-based solution benefits that correlate to maximum points in the program, the Westlake Village MS4 project combines two disparate areas into one project footprint. The combined project footprint will treat 352 acres of land, or just over half a square mile of stormwater runoff, and clean up water prior to discharge to two private lakes that provide multiple community benefits. The two projects are shown here. Russell Ranch Road will treat a drainage area just over 300 acres in the heart of the most impervious, where all of these impervious surfaces are in the heart of Westlake Village's commercial and industrial district that were developed long before the MS permit was a thing. The blue star on the left of the slide locates the project on private property adjacent to the Marriott Residence Inn, nestled just above Caltrans right-of-way for the 101 freeway, where we can take advantage of the close proximity of the storm drain pipes shown there in red, right next to the sanitary sewer pipes, which are the green lines, just as they're ready to cross underneath the freeway. The concept is to retrofit the existing desilting basin down there to build a natural treatment wetland or biofilter to cleanse water prior to release to Triumpho Creek and Westlake Lake, while also diverting the dirtiest portion of the first flush and low flow events into the sanitary sewer for water reuse by the Las Virgenes Pure Water Project. It's anticipated that this Russell Ranch Road site can capture and treat up to 2.5 acre-feet of water. To the right of the slide, you see the blue star on the Canyon Oaks project area, which is at the northern end of our city, adjacent Lindero Canyon Road. The site will capture and treat 52 acres of watershed, including the residential streets and homes in the Canyon Oaks neighborhood, portions of Lindero Canyon Road, and the adjacent neighborhoods in Agora Hills. Also sited on private property, this project concept includes intercepting 2 main storm drain lines that are shown in red, and constructing land-based treatment solutions to cleanse the water prior to release to Lindero Creek, which goes into Lake Lindero in the city of Agora Hills. The land-based treatment will be incorporated into a passive park, and we're excited to use it as an educational platform for teaching would-be learners about the Safe Clean Water program. The very concept level cost estimate for making this project a reality is just over $2 million. The Measure W Technical Resources Program will be getting underway on the feasibility soon, and the project collaborators are listed here. These are property owners, business owners, utilities that will be a party to the projects. In addition to having the potential for checking all the boxes on the Safe Clean Water Program hit list, this is also a good neighbor project, as we'll be cleaning up discharges to our beloved local creeks and lakes in both Westlake Village and Agora Hills. Once the technical design comes to fruition, the city will submit a construction application seeking Measure W regional funds to bring this project to life, and we're looking at the FY 25-26 cycle for that. Here are some other efforts that we do in Westlake Village. It'll look familiar to you because other cities do similar things. We've got the debris basin management, where we do pre and post rain wet season inspections and proactively manage them, these facilities, to prevent flooding and to manage the sediments. We do have some trash excluders on the upper third of the city, which is in the Canyon Oaks neighborhood, that drains into the Lindero pathway, Lindero Creek, Lindero Lake, which is a trash impaired water body. And we also do outfall screening, where we visually monitor all of our outfalls during the dry weather season, because if there's water coming out of outfalls when it's not raining, well, that's urban runoff. And so if there's more urban runoff than there should be, then somebody's got something going on, and we will find the source and go use it as an educational opportunity to help our community get better and better at protecting our waterways. So I would also mention that we are just completing our smart irrigation retrofit project. Calabasas reminded me we're doing that too. We're just embarking on a median transformation project to get rid of non-functional turfs and go to native and drought-tolerant plants in our citywide medians, and many, many other projects, as Joe mentioned, with all of the standard projects that all of our cities implement. So we're hard at work to make a difference in our watershed. So with that, I'll turn it over to the city of Malibu. Tracy, can you bring us home?
Thank you, Roxanne. Hi, like Alberto, I usually see most of you guys on Zoom. So today I'm kind of dusting it off a little bit and getting to know you. I'm going to take a moment to introduce myself, because for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tracy Rosine. I'm the Environmental Programs Manager in the Environmental Sustainability Department with the City of Malibu. I'm going to give you a brief overview of Malibu's 2023 stormwater compliance items. And before I begin, I would like to take a moment to thank the committee for choosing Malibu to host us as the hosting city today. We really enjoy doing this. Water quality is hugely important. As you know, we stand at the forefront of environmental issues. We did plastics first, we did dumpsters first. We take huge initiatives, and we're taking huge steps forward with a team that is tiny but mighty. I'd also like to take a moment, and I don't have a council slide, I apologize, but I would like to take a moment to thank our incredible city council, who offer so much support. And I have them here today, 2 of them present. So not having this slide, I feel like maybe I'm forgiven a little bit. So I would like to thank Mayor Euring and Councilmember Grisanti, who are both present today with us. I would also like to thank City Manager McClary, Public Works Director DeBow, Environmental Sustainability Director Bundy, and of course the entire environmental and public works teams that work so hard every day on every single one of these projects. First, I'm going to give you a little bit about the daily compliance operations, and then I'll give a brief overview of the projects that are supported by the Clean Water Funding in Malibu. So to verify that Malibu is meeting water quality objectives, sorry, I need to put my glasses on. The city reports on 7 activities and programs. We've listed them all here above for you to see. And again, we do this with a great team, council support, everything. It's been an amazing year for us. Most recently, we have completed our 5-year update for the Watershed Management Program, or also known as the WIMP to all you guys. And this was to ensure that the North Santa Monica Bay Coastal Watershed Group is using the best available science and data to improve overall water quality in Malibu and all over. We are happy to say that the program update was approved by the Regional Water Quality Control Board on November 22nd of 2023. One of the requirements in our MS4 permit is the inspection program, and Malibu has a very robust inspection program. It exceeds the requirement of the permit, actually. And last year, we completed over 1,200 inspections, consisting of 600 erosion control inspections, 435 construction sites, 140 commercial, and 37 illicit discharge inspections to ensure best management practices were outlined, or to ensure that we hit the best management practices outlined in the permit. While not a requirement of the permit, Malibu has created its enhanced dumpster locking lid program. We were the first city to initiate a program like this. It's been an incredible ride. It was great putting it through. It made us feel amazing because it helped with the pesticides, it helped with rodenticides. It has kept our areas and our commercial properties incredibly clean, and our staff is again out there every day inspecting these properties. In 2023, after that program, we did 234 inspections. The goal of the program was to make sure commercial dumpsters are kept clean, closed, locked, free of debris, and maintained in a sanitary condition. Malibu currently inspects 59 sites of dumpsters on a quarterly basis, all of which are 100% in compliance, and we're very proud of that program. Now I'll give you some information on our Safe Clean Water municipal funding. The city utilizes Safe Clean Water funds to support the operation and maintenance of 2 stormwater facilities. These activities meet Safe Clean Water program requirements by improving the water quality in the area. The Civic Center treatment facility can process up to 1,400 gallons per minute of runoff from the Civic Center Way in the Cross Creek area. The runoff is treated and returned to Legacy Park, one of our amazing projects as well, and the surrounding areas. This allows the city to treat dry and wet weather flows, reducing bacteria loads to Malibu Creek, and improving surface water quality in the Santa Monica Bay watershed. The Paradise Cove Stormwater Treatment Facility can treat 3.9 acre-feet annually. This facility benefits the Ramirez Canyon watershed. Last year, our municipal funds were used to complete the construction of the Murray Canyon Green Streets BMP. This is the first new project that was completed using the Safe Clean Water funds, and it is located off PCH at John Tyler. We installed full capture trash screens and can now treat wet weather and dry weather flows. This BMP was the best solution given the area's limited space and high groundwater. The project will help protect public health at Santa Monica Bay beaches, benefits the North Santa Monica coastal watershed, and the Corral Canyon Creek subwatershed. So looking forward, this is very exciting. The city plans to use the municipal funds to construct the Cane and Dune Biofilters project. Using the natural resources is the biggest importance to us. So the BMP will capture the street and treat stormwater, dry weather flows with natural processes. The project was identified in the city's Watershed Management Plan, our WIMP, and will meet the Safe Clean Water Program requirements by improving the water quality and protecting public health and the environment. The project is currently in design, and we anticipate construction to begin in late 2024. So again, we're moving forward. We're very excited. This project is going to be, it's going to be a big step for us. Once again, the City of Malibu would like to thank, once again, the City of Malibu would like to thank all of you for your contributions to the watershed. The city is excited to maintain these relationships with every single one of you that are here today. It's, again, been amazing having everybody here in one place, all of us with the same goals, and that's just to protect our natural resources for future generations. And I am going to pass this over to Melina to introduce the next section because I formerly had Oliver behind me, and I have to say, I'm not sure who's next now. Thank you very much, everyone.
I do love all of our cities and the people who work there. The next person up will be Jessica Forte, who's going to talk about a stunning Safe Clean Water project that the city has put together. I'm going to point out that we are now officially 19 minutes behind schedule. So I'm asking everyone to do the math and shrink their talk by 20%. If you have a 10-minute talk, that gives you 8 minutes. Thank you.
We're all friends by now, right? You guys can call me Jess. I'm excited to, oh, you don't have slides up yet. I'm going to talk today about our efforts in creating local water supply. When this gets up, I'll just scroll through a couple of slides. It's our stormwater to sewer diversion project. There's 10 distributed diversion structures throughout the city. So what that means is we're able to clean up all 3 of our tributaries that eventually go to Malibu Creek. Oh, we're there. All right. There we go. See? 10 structures, 3 tributaries. Our primary objective is dry weather MS4 compliance. And essentially we'll bring all 10 of these structures into immediate dry weather compliance. We have 40 MS4 outfalls, 10 of them in compliance means we're 25% of the way there, which is really exciting for our city. And none of that water during dry weather will enter into our creeks or lakes. The secondary objective as we dove into design is the amount of source water that this actually produces by sending it to Tapia using existing networks and treatment that exist. And ultimately that water will go to Las Virgenes' Pure Water facility and return to the area as drinking water, which is really exciting. So just to give you an idea of where our watershed is in the world, I know you've already seen this, that hot pink, I chose hot pink because they have a lady public works director. So that's Agora Hills. These are our city tributaries. We have 3. We have Lake Lindero, Lindero Creek, Medea Creek, and Las Virgenes Creek. 10 distributed diversion structures across those 3 tributaries. You can see the collection areas above. This is collecting a significant amount of our urban runoff with really just the most simple, project you can build. They're prefabricated structures. The first time I installed one of these was almost 15 years ago. It was in Santa Monica under the Santa Monica Pier. You cut it into an existing storm drain line right upstream of an outfall. A weir inside the structure allows low flow to pass. In this instance, out to Tapia, overflow continues in line to the outfall. There's some screens that allow us to pull out trash or large sediment. And then there's a control manhole just downstream of this diversion manhole that allows us to have all the appurtenant structures like the valve system, possibly future SCADA, things like that. And again, it's so cost effective because it uses existing systems. The storm drain system is there. The sewer system is there. They're all gravity fed. These don't need pumps. This is so sophisticated in its simplicity that it's just an awesome, no one believed me this was possible until we actually designed it. So now, a couple years later, inline diversions are included as a BMP in our WIM. It improves water quality, again, as long as this is capturing urban dry weather flow, it's sending 100% of that flow to Tapia. So 100% improvement during dry weather. I think it's important to kind of interject there because there is some concern that we're starving the downstream environment. And I want to remind everybody that the way that we've built out our storm drain system after those storms that Roxanne talked about in the 30s is to get water from where it is out to the ocean as fast as we can. What this project does is it diverts it after it's sped off of our roads to the pipes to treatment, and it comes back as irrigation. So if we had a natural forest here and that water was allowed to kind of meander and absorb and feed these trees, we've kind of replicated that with our urban forest, right? So that water is coming back, we're using it for irrigation and is improving our habitat in that way. And I think that when you look at this project, it's easy to think they're taking water out of natural habitat. But no, we have one of the largest like oak groves in the region. We have native plant palettes, and having water for irrigation in this area is really important for habitat. So I think it's you know, I love this project. The design, again, thank you, State of California. The earmark was identified by Assemblymember Bloom and placed, I think, in the 2018 budget. We used our local Measure W returns for the balance of that funding. The design is complete. Construction and operations and maintenance are expected at $3.97 million over the course of 5 years. 1.25 of that is through a IRWIMP grant. So it's through the Water Quality Supply and Infrastructure Improvement Act of 2014. We're bringing that funding agreement to our city council on May 8th with a recommendation to authorize us to bid the project. So we're ready to construct these. Hopefully, Aaron's not here right now, but Board of Supervisors, if you're listening, please approve our SIP that has the other $2.97 million for the project, which means this project will be 100% funded, and the operations and maintenance for the project will be funded for 5 years. So we're really excited. We're going to break ground on these, and if any of that funding doesn't come through, the city of Agora Hills is prepared to fund it. We have $1 million sitting in the bank to make sure that this happens. Again, so cost effective when you think it's a quarter of a cent a gallon for the life cycle of this project. It's almost impossible to build something like that. 2.5 in construction, 8 million in operations over the life cycle of 20 years. These are so simple, it's very likely they'll last a whole lot longer than that. So that number may be artificially high. We're gonna be collecting 1.1 million gallons a day during 6 months of the year during dry weather, and then 2.2 million gallons during the first storm of the year. That's 200 million gallons a year of water that we're gonna be collecting. That's really, really significant in an area where we don't have a groundwater basin. It's just fabulous. It's 4 billion gallons over the 20-year life cycle of water supply. So how does that project score in Safe Clean Water? We got 72 points out of 110 points. I will thank you again, Senator Allen. You gave us a support letter that got us those last 2 points that we needed for community investment-based benefits. So those support letters, they mean a lot to programs like this. I really want to highlight that. All right, so highlights on the project. It brings 10 MS4 outfalls into 100% dry weather compliance. It's extremely cost effective because it's using existing pipe networks, gravity flow and treatment capacity, creates 1.1 million gallons a day from April to October and onwards. If we don't hit a storm, we're gonna keep them running. 2.2 million gallons a day during that first storm, It optimizes existing infrastructure without touching open space or parks, which I think is significant also when you look at our EWIMP. Agora Hills alone was initially identified to capture something like 180 acre feet of water. That would mean like damming up one of our canyons. So no go. And our construction plans and specs are ready to go. Basically, sorry, I see you. These are all of our project partners: Agora Hills, Las Virgenes, LA County, Agora Hills City Mall, Lakeland Homeowners Association, Senator Ben Allen, California State for the funding, and our County Board of Supervisors for hopefully putting it in the Measure W program. That's it. Sorry. Sorry.
So we have 80 minutes of talks, and we have 20 minutes of questions, which comes to 100 minutes. But I'm looking at the clock, and I'm seeing that we have 70 minutes. So let's take a 5-minute break, not a 10-minute break for the bathroom. If you have been assigned 15 minutes to talk and you can shrink it to 10 minutes, I will name my next child after you. That's okay. So 5 minutes, guys. So it's 2:49. So be back at 2:55. At 6 minutes. Okay. Be back at 2:55, please. And if you have questions and you want to pop them up while other people are meandering, we'll take some questions. And that includes for people on Zoom. If you want to put your questions in the chat, Danielle Tannenbaum is going to handle Zoom questions for us. Thank you, Danielle. Welcome back to the North Santa Monica Bay Watershed. Welcome back to the North Santa Monica Bay State of the Watershed 2024. I encourage you to sit down and join us. Thank you. Our next speaker is from National Park Service. Danica, please take it away. Thank you.
All right, can you hear me well, or should I hold it up? I think you guys can hear me okay. Let's get the presentation up. So yes, hi, my name is Danica Globakar. I am the Chief of Facilities for Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area, which is a really cool job. I will say it's very different from what I think a lot of folks here do, especially the city folks. But I used to work for city local government where I was the stormwater program manager. So MS4 and PDS, I'm very fluent in that language, but it is very different from what I do now as a Park Service employee. I'm a professional engineer, and I will also, the last caveat I will give before I launch into this is our budget is a fraction of everybody else's in this room. So our projects don't tend to be quite as splashy and big and infrastructure heavy. We really rely a lot more on our open space and preserving that to maintain water quality in the watersheds. So let's take it away. And I promised Melina I would do this in 7 minutes, which is half my allotted time. Oh, do I have a clicker? All right. There we go. And it's not showing up quite the way I intended. It's all right, we'll persevere. So I was gonna just present on 2 projects that we have here that my park has done in the last year or so. So it's a little off the map, unfortunately, but the first one is our Cheeseboro Trailhead Reconstruction Project adjacent to our Agora Hills neighbors. And the number 2 was more of a programmatic project that we've done over actually many, many years. And it's a lot of revegetation that we've been doing, planting, removing invasive plants, planting native plants, and doing some soil reclamation. And this is near Malibu Creek Lake. Malibu Lake? Lagoon, yes. Lake. Yeah. Next one. And you can tell that's not my project. I've done the Cheeseboro one, and I'm presenting on behalf of our natural resource staff. All right. So first one, Cheeseboro. This one did go through my office, my division, because it is construction, and as an engineer, this was ours. So location is there, as you see, on the fringes of Agora Hills. And this was a 20-year project in the making. It mostly focused on kind of 2 components. One was reconstructing an existing trailhead that we inherited that was kind of old and decrepit, but also it was recognizing that there was a major stormwater issue here, and I'll show in the next slide. The picture on the left was the existing conditions, and on the right is what we reconstructed it to. You can see it's really, really close to our neighbors there, and I have arrows in the next slide that show the general path of water across this landscape from roughly the northeast down southwest. And we had water flowing into neighbors' properties, undetained water, a lot of water flowing over these lots, dirt lots, with a lot of suspended solids in them. So we recognized that was an issue. And so while we were reconfiguring the lots themselves for enhanced use, we also installed a stormwater component. And it's pretty small, hard to see. You see roughly the arrows across the two. Is there a laser pointer in this? Oh yeah, oh yeah. All right, so existing conditions on the left, undetained, picking up fine grained material, flowing over these trails and the roads. On the right is the post-construction, and we finished constructing it just last summer, so it's not even a year old. It still looks a little raw when you go out there, as though like, okay, it's a construction site that's revegetating. It's gonna look awesome in a couple more years. But some of this stormwater infrastructure we installed was catch basins. Whenever you see these arrows jogging, that is a catch basin that's there with sumps that we can clean out. There's a new detention pond, so we're actually detaining flows. So we don't have necessarily structures that are like removing pollutants per se, but this detention structure at least is detaining some of those flows so that when we do outflow stormwater, it's not at this maximum gushing rate that's going to cause additional erosion. It's a lot more controlled. And the final outflow is off our site there. But again, a lot less fine suspended solids in this flow now. So a couple photos. This was our old and sad face trailhead that was usable but a little old and 20 or 40 years worth of neglect. And so after construction, I think it looks really good. We have a new shade structure for use. There's a new vault toilet, and you'll see in a couple areas here, some of the catch basins are just off the map in these lower areas that we're collecting stormwater runoff. Okay, and we're installing some fencing, new toilets, just fun photos. Okay. How am I doing for time, Alina? I'll go fast. Okay, this one is not my project, but I am representing our resource folks here today as well. And so they have done the spoils restoration project. Malibu Lake had dredged some spoils and put them on our land. Dredge soils can be pretty nasty, gross things. A lot of contaminants are reside in those. So one of the cool things we did is we graded these the spoils flat and also started planting native plants in these so that we're going to collect seed from them. It's being used as a seed bank, so we're enhancing or we're collecting more native seeds to use in other areas of the Santa Monica Mountains. And also, I think I'm on the next slide. I have it here. Native plants will improve the health of soil by recruiting beneficial fungus and microbes, so remediating these spoiled soils. And after a couple of years of growing, we're going to be using these new plants, right here, all the new plants, and transplanting them, some of them at least, in the wildlife crossing that's going over the 101. So really exciting stuff that our resource folks are doing. And then I had just a quick bonus project. This is a map of the Paramount Ranch area. So this road here is Cornell Road, and this is Mulholland. And all of these are different vegetation communities here, and all the different acres that our resource folks have replanted in various stages or are planning to replant in the next several years. So amazing things. Our resource folks, they've done about, I think, 100,000 new saplings or new plants across the Santa Monica Mountains. So not just in this watershed, but across the whole area. But just amazing stuff. So like I said, we have, there's plantings. So we have the construction, we have programmatic plantings, and that is it. Did it. Okay.
For an engineer, you sound a lot like a biologist. John Oda, come on up, please. You're next. 8 minutes if you can.
Hi, all. My name's John Oda. I'm an environmental scientist with State Parks Angeles District, and I'm here today to give an update on our Topanga Lagoon restoration project. First off, I'd like to thank the City of Malibu for hosting this and Melina for giving us the opportunity to give you this update. I'd also like to acknowledge the other landowners that State Parks has been working with, Caltrans and the County of LA Beaches and Harbors, as well as the Resource Conservation District of the Santa Monica Mountains for their invaluable role in coordinating the project team. So, to first start off, an overview of the Topanga Creek watershed. It is the third largest in the Santa Monica Mountains. And one of the really notable things about it is it's relatively unimpaired compared to the other watersheds. You know, you don't see the major impoundments like Ringe Dam along Malibu Creek. You don't have quite the same level of discharges, although there is some surface runoff from residences further up. And also, a very large portion of the watershed is already in public stewardship. And because of this, it kind of suggested when you look at how can we improve this specific portion of the watershed, really the lagoon at its mouth and the historical constraints that have been put on it is the biggest area of improvement. And so the project site is slightly to the west of the intersection of Topanga Canyon Boulevard and Highway 1 and involves the bridge component of Pacific Coast Highway that crosses the lagoon there. Here's just a quick breakdown of the project area. In blue to the north of PCH, you have State Parks land. To the south in pink, you have LA County land. And then in the right-of-way of PCH and Topanga Canyon Boulevard is the Caltrans right-of-way. And the yellow outline is our general project area. You may notice that box that goes off into the ocean. That's there because preliminary sediment suitability surveys showed that there is some potential to reuse dredge material that's going to be taken out from the project site. It wasn't compatible with the beach because of things like color. It doesn't really match the existing material, but it is of the right grain size and non-hazardous material loads to potentially be used in the offshore environment. Here is a historic photo of Topanga Lagoon from 1916. There is a farm sitting on what was previously the Tongva village that gave the area of Topanga its name. And you can see there is a bar enclosed estuary that's really only constrained by the two hillsides joining it. Estimates are there was approximately 30 acres under most conditions. By 1939, given the increased demand for tourist and recreational driving, Pacific Coast Highway is put in. And when Pacific Coast Highway went in, there was material that was taken from hillsides that had to be cut into, and they had this big old hole where this lagoon was that they said, wow, this is really convenient. And they put all of those spoils into it and filled in the majority of the lagoon. There's now roughly half an acre of wetted area on average. And they also built a bridge over the lagoon that you may notice it's only roughly 79 feet across, so it's fairly highly constrained. And while it's no longer in this exact configuration, that's very roughly the same conditions that currently exist. Now, the Southern Steelhead has been in this creek, this watershed, very long time. The Tongva village and all of the local tribal communities had a relationship with the steelhead specifically going back thousands of years. It was a very important source of food, and it plays very much into their spiritual beliefs. And it was believed to be extirpated from Topanga Creek for several decades from the mid-20th century until it was reobserved in the 1980s by Rosie Daggett with the Resource Conservation District. And once it was followed up with other surveys, it was confirmed that there was actually a breeding population existent in this lagoon, which was a major factor in driving state parks to acquire the land in the early 2000s to expand on the already existing Topanga State Park. And in addition to the steelhead, we also have tidewater goby. Both are federally endangered, and this is considered critical habitat for both of them. And some sort of general lagoon restoration project has, been a goal of many of the biologists in the area because it has two important species in it, as well as the fact that we've lost, over 90% of our historical wetland, and any that we can get back is advantageous. Now, both of these fish do currently reside in the lagoon, but they have difficulties with the current configuration. The narrow bridge during storm events, it increases the rate of flow, it channelizes it. So when the sandbar that normally closes the lagoon opens, and the steelhead can move upstream for spawning, it's also right when the flow is peaking, and they have a much harder time swimming upstream past the bridge as well. And then steelhead smelt and tidewater gobies in general, the refugia they have in the lagoon, there's a lot of water moving through it during storm events, and there's always the threat that the population could be flushed out to sea, and then they have to try to return back into the lagoon before it closes. Gotcha. There's also sea level rise, and there's a wide range of recreational and public access cultural elements that are very important that I'm not touching on. If this project is new to anyone, I encourage you to visit the project website because it gets into a lot of the other elements of this project in detail. Suffice to say, LA County Beaches and Harbors is seeing a lot of the problems that other beach managers are seeing. They have facilities on the beach that aren't in immediate danger, but as you can see in one of these photos, is being threatened during high tide. So project goals focused on improving the ecosystem and resiliency to sea level rise, as well as important recreational, cultural, and other resources. 4 alternatives were considered under CEQA. One was the no project alternative, which I'm not going to discuss too much at length because it is keeping the status quo. Alternative 2 was maximizing the lagoon, in which the bridge is extended from 79 feet to 460, and a large portion of the historical fill is removed, which will allow the wetted area of the lagoon to expand. The estimate is roughly 10 acres under this alternative, and then also beach facilities are moved further back closer to the parking lot, which gives more space to deal with eventual sea level rise when it comes to both the blanket space and the infrastructure. Alternative 3 is very similar in terms of the bridge aspect, but the Topanga Ranch Motel, which is eligible for the list of historic structures, is retained. So under this, the fish passage remains the same, but there is less benefit to refugia because there's only roughly 7 acres of wetted area created under this compared to 10. And then alternative 4 was really maximizing sea level rise. The bridge length is the same, so fish passage is still the same. The refugia created is roughly 7 acres, so comparable to alternative 3. But under this, PCH has moved north, which gives more room for the beach parking lot to move up, more room for LA County facilities to move up. There were a few late findings in our cultural record searches that indicate that this puts a surface level cultural deposits in the path of construction, which did not occur under previous alternatives. So now that this has come out, it seems like a pretty big impediment. And there's also some geotechnical concerns with this because it would require retaining walls on some of the slopes, and there's slope stability issues. So 4 is looking more difficult than it was originally envisaged. There's also a range of wastewater management options being considered. There are currently just vaults that are, pumped out. They don't comply with current ordinances. They're legacy systems. So we're looking at potentially either a sewer connection or an advanced on-site wastewater treatment system. We've found some areas where we can do percolation pits to potentially dispose of water treated on site. We're looking at mitigation to minimize harm during construction. This means limiting working in the wetted area so we don't have acoustic impacts to the sensitive species, maintaining the current mature native trees, excavation buffer, leaving some layer of fill so we don't have the potential for cultural impacts, as well as maintaining all 4 lanes of traffic on PCH during construction. So we are in the middle of CEQA. The draft EIR was released earlier this year. Comment period closed on April 12th. We appreciate all the comments, but I'd like to specifically thank the Malibu City Council and staff members for their thoughtful comments, and we are working on getting a good response to you on all the points that you raised. We hope to have a preferred alternative selected and EIR finalized in June 2024. And then from 2024 to 2026, completing the design phase, which we do have funding for 90% designs. And then 2027 through 2021 would be construction. I'd like to thank again our project partners and the Wildlife Conservation Board, Coastal Conservancy, CDFW, and Assembly Member Richard Bloom for their vital funding and support of this project. Thank you.
Now we have Jelly Collar from the RCD of the Santa Monica Mountains.
Thank you. So luckily for Melina and, oh, is that okay? Oh, yeah. Well, luckily for all of us then, John and I did not coordinate on talks, and we're both talking about Topanga Lagoon. So I can probably cut my speech in about half. I'm Jelly. I'm from the Resource Conservation District of Santa Monica Mountains. I am our Education and Engagement Supervisor. And I'll be talking more about our education today than I will be about Topanga Lagoon. I do have a slideshow, but maybe it.
I apologize. It's going to be up in just 1 minute.
No, it's all good. So essentially, I'm going to be kind of covering the different things that we do at the RCD, but we are essentially a government non-regulatory agency. We operate a bit like an environmental nonprofit, and some of the major things that we do are monitoring the species that live here in the Santa Monica Mountains, and those species include some of the ones that John mentioned, so southern steelhead, tidewater goby, the California newt, Pacific tree frog, and the western toad. So those are all some of our threatened and endangered species that the RCD monitors. They're all really cute. Once the slideshow comes up, you'll get to see them. But we don't just work in species monitoring. We also do education programs. We actually snorkel the creeks and do a lot of habitat restoration. We have a team that works in wildfire resilience and community resilience. They're really amazing. And then we have some larger scale habitat restoration projects that we're a part of. So Malibu Lagoon restoration was one of those, Topanga Lagoon. And we have a hand in our, I got distracted with my own slide. We have a hand in bigger projects like the Wildlife Crossing. So this is just kind of a snapshot of all the different things that we do. I'd love to go back and show you how cute these critters are. Thank you. First, I'm going to talk a little bit. Ooh, that font is fun, isn't it? There's words on that slide, but never mind, just symbols. One of the things I want to cover is the different kinds of education programs that we do at the RCD. So we have first things first field programs. So those are kind of half-day programs where we actually bring students out into 3 different field sites that we have throughout the Santa Monica Mountains. So one of them is Malibu Lagoon, where we do kind of marine science. We also have Topanga State Park, where we do oak woodland science with our students. And we have Sepulveda Basin, where we actually do like wetland ecology and urban ecology with our students. We also go on campus from time to time. So this can look a lot of different ways. So one of them is kind of, again, like a half-day program where we take, the entire grade, so like 200-300 students out and move them through different stations, all about connecting students to their watershed and teaching them a little bit about their own impact on the watershed. We also will do, single lessons where we'll go in to these classrooms and do, again, kind of maybe nature journaling like you're seeing in this photo. We also now, thanks to COVID, have a robust virtual program where we actually get like zoomed in or Google Meeted into a classroom, and we have educators that can teach remotely.
So that's kind of some of the youth education programs that we do. We recently started adult education programs as well in the form of Wild City. So this is a super exciting kind of immersive workshop series that we do. And this has ranged, like the topics of these series have ranged from, paper making to crayfish removals, invasive crayfish removals, I should say. I dissected a fish out at Malibu Lagoon for people. We've also done kind of more artistic connections with nature. So we've done photography and even singing, just to kind of find different ways to connect our community to the nature that exists all around us. And this is where I talk about Topanga Lagoon, but I will just speed through it really, really fast because y'all know what's going on. I could actually quiz you maybe, see how well you were listening to John. So one thing I'll say that John didn't is that my biologist likes to refer to this shape as a frog holding a briefcase, and I want you to see that. So this is kind of the project area. John explained it really well. He also went over the different alternatives. Raise your hand if you love alternative too. Just kidding. You kind of know what we've done so far. The RCD's role in this restoration is a little bit unique. So we're more the outreach component and the grant managers, I suppose. So we try to organize everybody. But it's been happening since the early 2000s for us. Rosie Daggett, our principal conservation biologist, has made it like her career mission to get this lagoon restored, and she will not retire until it's restored. So let's restore it. And since then, we've, I think Topanga State Park General Plan adopted it in 2012. And then thanks to funding from the State Coastal Conservancy, it was re-adopted or re-implemented, restarted in 2019. And since then, we've held several public meetings. So our first one kicked off in February of 2020, right before COVID. And we had kind of a public input workshop where the public got to kind of tell us what those alternatives should look like, what they want to see. Since then, we've had meetings in 2021, 2022, 2023, and most recently, February of 2024. So that's kind of what all these different photos are from. We've also actually held like focus group meetings with surfers, homeowners, and concessionaires, or business owners around the lagoon. So those are just some of the amazing things that we've done. What are we doing next? John already told you, so I don't need to. And if you want to know anything else about the RCD, all of the amazing projects that we do, you can follow us on social media at RCDSMM, or you can go to our website. And if you want to know anything about the Topanga Lagoon project specifically, you can go to topangalagoonrestoration.org. That's our project website that has all of the amazing information, or you can talk to John after this.
So in the interest of making sure that our incredible speaker, Dr. Christine Whitcraft, has enough time, I'm going to skip me, where I was going to tell you about the awesome Native Garden Kit project that Las Virgenes Municipal Water District created with Tree People. Go online, check it out, buy some plants, and go directly to Gus Meza, who will talk to us about water conservation. And then Roxanne is also going to sit out so that we can put Christine on center stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Put this, let's see here. Okay. Happy Earth Month, everyone. As we know, every day is Earth Day, right? Happy to be here. I'm with West Basin Municipal Water District. We're a water wholesaler. I'm going to be covering briefly who we are, some of our programs, and our water supplies. Let's see here. I'm not sure if oh yeah, we go. Got the slides up here? Okay. So our mission at West Basin is to provide a safe and reliable supply of high quality water to the communities we serve. We were formed in 1947 by a vote of the people to help bring imported water to our service area. And we provide imported drinking water to nearly 1 million people in 17 cities. We have an elected board of directors that you can see here. And our director, Scott Houston, he actually represents the city of Malibu and the LA unincorporated area of Topanga on our board. And so he works with local governments, the state, federal, on water issues. So he represents us and all the residents here in Malibu and Topanga. Here's a map of our service area. I mentioned that we're the water wholesaler for Malibu and Topanga. We sell water to the local water retailer, who is LA County Waterworks District 29. So that's our customer. We sell water to them, and we partner with them and the city closely on implementing a lot of programs here in the city. So our goal is to protect and diversify our water portfolio and to also create innovative programs for the future. Our supply is made up of several sources. As you can see here, we have imported drinking water that we purchase from the Metropolitan Water District. We have conservation or water use efficiency programs, and we provide recycled water, and we also augment the groundwater with recycled water. So these are our sources here. How many remember this map here? Pretty scary, huh? A couple years ago? Yeah, we were basically running out of water. So luckily we've had, as mentioned earlier by the senator, 2 really good years of snowpack, precipitation. So this is what our map looks like now on the right. So that looks a lot better. So our water resources, the snowpack has helped to fill the reservoirs throughout the state. So we're looking pretty good for the next year or two. But as you know, if you've lived here, droughts come and go every few years. So it's very important to conserve and be efficient with our water use. I don't need to tell you, you're all environmentalists here. So, okay. The thing to take away from this slide is the circle there on the left. That was basically our water supply portfolio back in 1990, made up mostly of imported water. Almost 80% was imported water that we were purchasing from Metropolitan Water District. So our goal is to bring in other sources like recycled water, conservation, and to increase our water portfolio. So when droughts do hit, we're less impacted because we have recycled water. We're doing conservation and groundwater. So this is a really good story to show here. We've all worked hard to bring in these other sources of water. I think many of you know where our water comes from, mainly our imported water from Northern California and the Colorado River. I'm happy to say just this week, state water officials announced that they're going to be bumping up our water allocation from to 40% from 30%. So that's great news for those who receive water from the state water project like Las Virgenes Municipal Water District, MWD. And for MWD, a bump to 40% means that they're going to receive about 800,000 acre feet of water, which is great news for the Metropolitan Water District that services most of the Southern California area. So that's really good news. And here you can see for the last 20 years, we've been decreasing our imported water use through recycled water, through conservation efforts. You can see here, what year is that? 2007, we're almost about 137,000 acre feet. And today we're about 88,000 acre feet. So through recycled water, conservation, all the efforts that we all do at home, conserving water, we've all helped to drive down our need for this imported water. So great job, everyone. Let's see here. I invite you all to come and visit our Edward C. Little water recycling facility in the city of El Segundo. This is where we develop and create recycled water, 30 to 40 million gallons per day. What we do is we take sewer water from Hyperion in LA, we bring it to El Segundo, and we further treat it to 5 different types of water. We basically bring it back to drinking water standards that we pump along the coast. And we also have over 13,000 visitors that we work with the schools. We bring elementary school kids to come and tour the facility to learn about recycled water. So we're offering tours all the time. So visit our website and come visit us so you can see how we create recycled water. Okay. Many of you know the benefits of recycled water. It's local, it's reliable, it conserves drinking water, so you can see the list of benefits here for recycled water. And a few years ago, we hit this major milestone of 250 billion gallons of recycled water produced, which is enough water for 8.3 million people for 1 year. So yeah, that was a big deal. Thank you. I didn't do it myself, but thank you. Here and at West Basin, we also have water conservation, water efficiency programs. I already mentioned the downward trend in water use, 41% decrease. So here we have long-term water efficiency programs. So we want everyone to be super califrugalistic with your water use, right? If you've seen Mary Poppins, right, the movie. Yeah, be frugal with water. That's the point we're trying to get across. And recently, well, this last year, we partnered with the city of Malibu. You can see the picture of the mayor's there as well, to give away rain barrels. So we gave away, I think it was about 100 rain barrels to the residents of Malibu. And we worked with the local group there, the Boys and Girls Club of Malibu. They helped us to load the rain barrels into the vehicles, and they earned some funding for their Boys and Girls Club. So that was very successful, and we hope to do more rain barrel programs with the city. So big thumbs up over there. All right. And still offering a $3 per square foot rebate for grass replacement. Many of you are familiar with this rebate. And then I did want to mention this new partnership. It's a regional collaboration, very exciting, that we have with Los Virgenes Municipal Water District, LA County, Waterworks, Public Works. So we work together through the IRWIN process, Prop 1 Round 2, and we received a grant. Los Virgenes Municipal Water District, they're the lead agency, so I want to thank them. We're working together to develop this program, and you can see here the list of items that it's going to provide the residents in their service area, Agora Hills, Calabasas, and other areas, and then also the city of Malibu. I'm working closely with the city of Malibu to launch this program. And really quick, visit our website. You can see that we offer classes here on different topics that you can see there. And we are also working with public sites like the city. They've installed one of these water bottle filling stations. So West Basin provides grant funding to cities and other public sites. And they've already installed one. You probably saw one over here next to the restrooms where you can fill your water bottle so we can get rid of plastic bottles. And I think this is the end here. Here's our websites and my contact information. So I see Melina from the side of my eye here. My peripheral, thank you very much. Thanks, Melina.
It's a great talk. I'm starting to feel like the conductor of the orchestra at the Oscars, not in a good way. So sorry. So I am very appreciative that Roxanne Hughes has agreed that we will skip her 5-minute presentation on the Living Lightly Guide, which you can look that up on a website and find out how you can personally save water conservation. And other good things. So we have with us Dr. Christine Woodcraft, and I don't actually know what you look like, so if you'd stand up, that's beautiful. You do have your full 25 minutes, which I consider a personal achievement. And then we'll have 5 minutes for questions, and I'm going to invite everyone to meet me in the upper parking lot at 4 o'clock if you have other questions, because we will be evicted at 4. So, but we can definitely hang out in the parking lot, and if you were a speaker, I have native plants for you as a gift.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry to those that I shortened your time. Thank you for the invitation to come and speak. I'm going to tell you about our monitoring that's been ongoing.
I'm so sorry, Doctor. If you can speak into the microphone, please.
Maybe I'll just hold it. And I will have slides too, yeah? Oh, they're coming. Oh, got it. So I wanted to give you the context for the monitoring results and the condition report and comparisons that we're going to talk about for Malibu Lagoon. I mean, the first note is that this is part of a very large collaboration of people that are currently working on California estuaries, but we mean it to be a continuation of the years of people who've worked on California estuaries. So the data and results that I'm going to present today come from funded programs from the Ocean Protection Council, as well as from the Prop 50 grant program. And they involve collaborators from Northern California all the way down to our Southern California team that represents all those institutions that you guys see at the bottom of the slide. There's a picture of our team. One of the great things about this is we also hope that as part of the monitoring team, we're, with involvement in the universities like Cal State Long Beach, where I am, that we're also helping train the next generation of estuarine scientists as well. So there's a lot of students involved in this project. But the context that I think is really important is that this monitoring program is being set up to help develop a framework that builds on existing monitoring programs and connects with what we think should be a framework more uniform across the state. And it came from a program that was looking about estuaries were placed into the marine protected area system in a lot of cases, and this sort of, in many cases, provided overlap between existing protections through state parks or through the National Estuarine Research Reserve or through federal fish and wildlife, et cetera. And the challenge was, how do we effectively design a way to assess the conditions of these estuaries that are the same across? So we started with looking across the 23 estuaries that are in the marine protected area and thinking what we can do to make the protocols more uniform. And the reason I bring this all up is that you'll see that our aims are not to meet regulatory standards in monitoring right now. We would have, and we can't answer every question, right? We have terribly nerdy t-shirts for this project that say, but what is your question, right? Because we really can't answer all the questions. But our goal is that we can develop a monitoring and assessment framework that helps us talk about condition of coastal estuaries and lagoons and compare it to relative and relevant similar lagoons based on either the type of lagoon, the latitude, and the type of protection that it's afforded. So with that in mind, these are the sites that were chosen in our first monitoring program. They were chosen for a variety of reasons. Some of them is latitudinal, right? We have 5 estuaries in the northern end of the state, 5 in the central region, and 5 in the southern region. They represent at least 3 in each region that are marine protected areas and 2 that we're calling our reference or non-MPA sites. And some of them are based on existing monitoring programs, based on regional significance, or based on representing a different type of estuary. So you'll see Malibu Lagoon there is in the middle. And I'm gonna show you guys data that have come from just 2 seasons across these, and you'll see them compared across the whole state to those different estuaries. So it's useful to think about why we collected the data and where from. And there's Malibu, I even remembered to circle it. And this is we've also put on our, if you turn around on our t-shirts, the front says, what is the question? The back says, I'll show you a matrix. This is our matrix. So one of the challenges of any monitoring program is that we really want to take monitoring a little bit beyond just telling you who and what are there. We'd ultimately like to be able to answer the question of how are our estuaries doing, right? What functions are they bringing to the coast and to the system? So what we have on the left-hand side is a series of functions that we think managers and the public and scientists are most likely to be interested in. They range from habitat for fish and birds, up to shellfish, all the way through different trophic levels, so primary production, secondary production. But we also know that managers look at protected species support, right? So we need to have a special category for that. Then as a team, using literature and best professional judgment, we tried to put all the indicators, so the metrics that we would go out into the field and measure are listed across the top. And then we have a green box when we see that what we need to measure that in order to talk about function. And I'll go through examples of how we use this in a little bit, but the 3 I'm going to talk a lot about today are the fish habitat, the sea level rise amelioration, and the vascular plant support. And so that means that I'll talk about the indicators, and then I'll try and pull it back together to talk about what is a high-performing estuary within that function. And you'll see lots of matrices again, don't worry. As part of the Prop 50 grant program, we are also specially considering these small lagoons that you've heard a little bit about already this afternoon. So in this monitoring program, we've also been monitoring from Big Sycamore down to Topanga, because these small lagoons that open and close with the seasons are really ecologically different. They present completely new challenges, and we wanted to make sure that any monitoring framework designed also helped us to keep track of those lagoons. And you'll see that that opening and closing element, as most of you probably know, is really important in how Malibu looks and is functioning. So with that in mind, I'll bring you right to Malibu Lagoon. Personally, I've been really excited because this was not a system that I had worked in through all of my time in Southern California. So I was excited for the opportunity to work in it. We connected with the RCD. We've connected with other groups that have monitored her in the past, with also the idea that we're not the first people here in many ways. And we've tried to use some of the, I'm not presenting on historic data, but we've tried to use some of the same sampling locations to, ensure that we can talk about where our monitoring fits into the general history. So in this picture, each estuary we've set up 3 sampling stations, with 1 being closest to the mouth. And then depending on how you look at Malibu, 3 is supposed to be furthest from the mouth. It's the same distance from the mouth, but it's to the left. We have continuous water quality loggers that are deployed in there as much as we can keep them running. And then at each station, we go through a series of monitoring protocols. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Or I guess we'll talk about it right away. The monitoring protocols that we've put in place have been part of the framework what we think is really important. Sometimes we all collect data in the way that we were taught to collect data, without potentially much thought about how we're doing it or where it can be standardized. So one of the first parts of this project was that conversation with people who have been collecting data in the systems for a long time, with an idea that if I pull a net in this system and it's a different height and mesh size than the net that's always been pulled in the system, can the fish we collect be compared to the fish that have been collected in the past? That also meant that sometimes the answer was no. We can't compare historic data. Sometimes the answer was we did comparisons across systems to see if it was equivalent. And a lot of times the answer was, I'm sorry, could you just try it my way? But we do have a standardized protocol book now that's available on our website, and I'll link that at the end. And we have suggestions as to where you can crosswalk across data sets. But I'll tell you a little bit about those abiotic factors we collect, the fish and crab and invertebrate surveys we do, the vegetation surveys we do, and I'll spend a little less time today talking about those landscape processes. But all of them are collected about 13 to 15 protocols in both fall and spring for every one of the 15 estuaries. And then for some reason, we decided to add 2 more. So it's 17 estuaries. But as you guys know, Malibu is a lagoonal estuary system in our classification, and that mouth condition becomes a big determinant of what our data will show you. So I have 2 pictures. This is from the fall of 2019, where a lot of our data comes from, where the mouth of the lagoon is closed and remains so for several months. And you'll see that in there we have quite a lot of buildup of high water levels and floating macroalgal cover. By the different sampling seasons, we now had the lagoon mouth open so that we had regular tidal flushing into those. And you'll see those changes reflected in the long-term data monitoring as well as the algal conditions. And that went a little wild. But these are an example of the water conditions and nutrients that we try and keep track of. On the left is salinity, measured as conductivity, dissolved oxygen, and milligrams per liter, and temperature, through example monitoring periods from that summer of 2021 that I showed through the spring of 2022 picture that we showed. And not surprisingly, it varies exactly with mouth state. So when the mouth of the estuary is closed, immediately we tend to have very high water levels depending on when it closes, with ever freshening salinity within those, lower dissolved oxygens frequently, particularly at night in those seasons, and the warmest temperatures. We are not. So those conditions definitely are most predictive of whether the estuary mouth is open or closed. And I'm sorry, my colors were a little lost in there. We are also taking point-in-time sample grabs for nutrients. These are just that, though. That's the challenge of this monitoring program. It is not a continuous nutrient monitoring program. And we have subsequently added an SOP where we are now looking at sediment nutrients because that's a longer term longer term assessment of those nutrients in the watershed. I just don't have those data to show you today. But we do generally see, if you look at Malibu, which I've tried to circle in these relative to most of the estuaries up and down the coast, the ammonia levels that we found in both of the sampling seasons are comparable to a lot of our estuaries, including the nearby ones. Same story with the nitrate levels. We do not see particularly high nitrate levels in the samples that we measured on average. And the only place that we tend to see differences in nutrient levels are with the phosphates, shown here. Malibu Lagoon as well as Morocojo are two of our highest phosphate estuaries. And a lot of that likely has to do with sort of the, those landscape stressors we talked about and what's coming down the watershed. And we only have the measurements in the lagoon. We don't have the measurements of the surrounding upstream or other areas. And so with the questions like that are really good ones, you guys will start to see the limitation of the fact that this is set up to capture that snapshot and we don't get the continuous monitoring in our monitoring scheme. But if we then look at how do we use these, what I wanted to pull these into the context of is how do we crosswalk? So those pictures were aimed at telling you guys sort of the general story of the estuary in terms of what's happening when the mouth opens and closes, but I'd like to connect it a little bit more to what we measure and a function, and I'm going to do that with plants. So we defined this to be that we would like an estuary to support a diversity of plant species that are native, essentially, and that represent where it is latitudinally in the state of California. And we said that a high-performing estuary would have relatively high CRAM scores, which I'll talk about. They'd have high percent native species, dense cover in the right vegetation habitats, a varied topography, and they'd be relatively resilient to sea level rise characteristics in terms of the amount of marsh that gets inundated. This is our CRAM scores. CRAM is a rapid assessment method that lets you look at the estuary in terms of the watershed and its buffer areas. Malibu is right here. We gave it an overall sort of 2 in its placement in the state, but you'll also see that a lot of Southern California estuaries are down here in the CRAM scores because of their very urbanized context, right? Altered hydrology, lots of paved areas in the watershed. And if you compare sort of overall, we can see that some of those scores being lower have to do with the fact that it's a small estuary, so it doesn't have as much biotic area, and that some of its physical conditions, while functional, are relatively altered as well. The good news for Malibu in terms of scoring and with plants is that it's one of our estuaries that has a really high percent of native plants. A lot of that is by design, right? We have very few non-native plants, and they're usually coming right in at the upland transition zone. Some of them are beautiful as well. I put that on there, and everyone's always upset. Why is it non-native? But we have a huge list of native species that are present in the lagoon and relatively dense in cover in the appropriate elevations. And a lot of that has to do with the design of how the planting and areas were set up. It also means that Malibu scores relatively well in terms of having dense vegetation in those high to mid-marsh areas. When you then look at what we're calling rugosity, this is a terrain ruggedness index that gotten through GIS measurements. And we see that Malibu's right in the middle of our scoring because we have some intact riparian area upstream in the watershed coming down to a slightly constrained by development lagoon. And the reason we put this in is thinking about sort of how does water move through the system over different habitats? And this map shows the same idea. How is water moving through the system? We also mapped that as to what does the buffer landscape look like? How could water move if you had floods or sea level rise conditions? And here's just like many Southern California estuaries where Malibu is constrained by development around the edges. I don't have numbers for you looking at all of the inundation. One of the things we worked on is how do we measure water elevation across the landscape, and we just surveyed those all in now. So we hope to have this indicator scored soon. And then we also put out feldspar to measure the actual amount of sediment that's coming down the watershed. And as many people know, Malibu is heavily used, so our plot disappeared. I know. We'll put it back out in a different location to give you numbers on sediment accretion. But the idea was that if you put those together, what we don't want to do is just collect a sample in fall and spring and tell you that the lagoon is doing poorly or fine. So we tried to put it in the context of the region and the estuaries we monitored to say that, Malibu is constrained in size and could have more sea level resilience, but it's supporting a native dominated plant community. We also wanted to, and if you look at the pictures, Malibu has dense plant cover that's inundated a significant period of the time, and it just has narrower floodplains than, say, Upper Newport Bay, which scored higher on our scale there. So I just put in the two pictures to show you. We also looked at that floating algae, so that initial picture that I showed you. The floating algae has been the highest of any of the estuaries we measured in Malibu in those closed water conditions, partially because of some of the nutrients that come down the watershed, we suspect, and because of that closure. And so ideally, having lower percent cover of floating algae would have an estuary score higher relative to the other ones. And it definitely influences the amount of submerged aquatic vegetation present in the lagoon, and changes the sort of fish community that we've seen in there. If I look at those fish, both in terms of what's there and in terms of the birds in front of what's there, I like to show they're not maybe as cute as the RCD slides, but we do have Malibu here. So these are just these are just 2 seasons where we put up data to show you. Malibu is right here. And it's got around the same average abundance per seine of fish that we find in other estuaries. It doesn't seem to vary by whether it's a marine protected area or not. It does seem to vary a little bit more whether that estuary is open or closed, right? Fish have different access to swim in or out, and they're responding to those very altered abiotic conditions. We also wanted to just show you a little bit of what's there. We find many of the typical fish species that you might expect to see in estuaries there. California halibut, California killifish, inland silversides, top smelts, staghorn sculpins. Those are the 5 most common fish that we find within the system of Malibu, which are relatively similar in community composition to other opening and closing estuaries. We have not caught a tidewater goby in our surveys, though I know that RCD comes in and works extensively in there. My students help out sometimes in the summer educational efforts, so we have seen them, but not in our surveys there. These graphs, basically every point is one seine that we did, and the reason I put it up is that we tried to look to see if there was difference between our marine protected areas in terms of the fish composition. But this basically, if there is a point over here, it is very different from a point over here. And what we found in these graphs, when you think about what fish are there in terms of species composition, it really just depends on those salinity and temperature conditions within the lagoon. Sure, so each one of these dots is a fish seine, and all the fish within it. And what it does is the graph just says this point has very different fish communities than this point. Not in terms of abundance, but relative abundance. So for example, this point might have more gobies than this point that has more halibut. I don't know what those were on here, but the idea that we just wanted to show you with it was that what really matters is not whether it's an MPA or not, but what matters is whether that mouth is open or closed. Because the fish community, not only how many there are, but who there are responding to those conditions. Also for birds, we have all these parameters connect together, but we have birders going out and working both with local groups as well as doing their own observations to find that there's a varied and quite active bird community at the lagoon at all different times. Many of them are pretty common, but and they vary from season to season. In one of the surveys, there were so many pelicans. So we know that the lagoon is, has a lot of birds and a diverse bird community within it as well. And so that is a quick walkthrough. How did I do? What we have in the QR code there, which I hope works. I didn't try it, so someone tell me. But it links to that website in case it doesn't work. All of the data that's produced from this project is publicly available and it's downloadable. So the data that appears from our graphs that we made are available. They've been QA/QC'd. They're comparable across the state. And we want to do that so that other people can take a look at it. And we hope that what we can do is continue to find the protocols and the collaboration with partners so that our data becomes part of the larger data set that informs, what are these estuaries doing and where do they fall in the general scheme of things. And then hopefully you can modify the protocols to ask, you can find your own "What's your question?" t-shirt, right? So. I'm happy to take, yeah.
If you can speak into the microphone, please,
yeah.
so everyone can hear. It's for our hybrid version.
Okay. Just wondering overall, you get you do these. You're doing this monitoring, and what happens if you see some kind of? What's the result of this monitoring? Does it direct any kind of changes in some of the lagoons? Are these all restored lagoons? And yeah, what's the effect of your monitoring?
Well, one of the effects of monitoring is that we hope to establish a baseline of where we are now, that everyone's using that same protocol. And the second goal is that we're establishing a framework that we'd like people to adopt moving forward. Monitoring is a very hard piece to fund, right? No one wants to keep monitoring. So what we've tried to balance is the idea that we could be out there every day and catch all the changes we need, with the idea that there's existing monitoring plans and we need to be efficient about it. So what we're hoping to do is a little bit estuary specific. So say in Malibu, we really want to make sure that we connect with all the agencies that are doing other monitoring, and that we wrap it into a fundable monitoring scheme that can answer questions efficiently. And depending on the system, so one is very much just working on developing the framework. The other is figuring out what, depending on the system, might trigger a management action or would cause someone to act on the data that we produce. Yeah, and I'll answer that one. I mean, we have a grant through the Ocean Protection Council to do the monitoring. Our end goal is to hand it over to someone locally who's a partner. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Barbara Burke with Malibu Times and have a question that's very important to people in Malibu. They are considering and I think implementing the idea of discombobulating the Ringe Dam. Do your studies have anything to do with regard to how that will affect our lagoon?
We are not specifically looking at any construction project. Since the data are publicly available, they can be used for other assessments if people need them. And that's part of what we'd like the framework to do, that if we can collect data in a repeatable way and other people can use it to address specific actions like dams or upstream impacts, then some of the data exists all the data exists and it can be used that way for projects.
Appreciate it.
And I'm happy to answer questions in the parking lot if that works. Okay. Okay.
Yes, we're not going to throw you out. If you guys want to complete any conversations, obviously we'll not kick you out. But definitely, yes, just let us know.
Well, as a land manager on two areas in your study, I found it very interesting. It seems promising. So just kind of to clarify a little bit more, I think you spoke to it, but this is is this gonna more overall qualitative, like say CRAM, or is this more of a comparison to like local, and then maybe you would set a baseline and you can compare to how the same estuary is doing over time, or is it really like qualitative, like you're looking at specific quality measurements and where it ranks on that?
I mean, it's very quantitative in the sense that those numbers exist in raw format in the database. And somewhat that functions as one sampling point, potentially in estuaries that haven't been monitored for a while, or in ones that have been monitored, it's one more piece of data. How it's used after that, we hope, is a little bit determined with conversations with the manager. The goal is not that we would stay as the monitors through time. The goal is that we've developed a framework and protocols that could be handed to other groups that wanted to continue that, right? And so we've also hoped to work with partners at each lagoon with the eventuality that says the state helped us fund putting a framework together. We'd like to help you find a way to continue that framework to keep monitoring going, et cetera.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alan Drossett with Angel Sharks. We're a Carbon X Prize team, and we have a spotter buoy network that we can monitor in real time with Iridium satellites and Planet satellite, and integrate it with the ERS system. So if we have questions in the parking lot about API or something like that, could we talk to you?
Sure, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, our data is spatially based, so that eventually the database can be an ERDAP server, right? So it can network with offshore buoy networks, NOAA's data portal, other places where that puts it in the spatial context. So yeah.
Thank you.
Saving him for the parking lot. Yeah, thanks. I will hand you the microphone.
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah.
Thank you. What a great afternoon. I really want to thank everyone, and especially Melina Watts, who just deserves her own. And the host city of Malibu staff has just been here with us all afternoon and been here for 4. It's really wonderful. Mostly, I want to thank my colleagues and the members of the WASC, the Watershed Advisory Council. I think the fact that we do this kind of public education, not only in the things that we're supposed to do, but things that matter about our environment in this watershed, like the Topanga Lagoon restoration and the work that's being done in Malibu Lagoon. What we're about is to clean up the water that comes into these places so that they're healthier. Christine just talked about the importance that the nitrates have. You saw pictures of that heavy load of algae, made worse, by the way, by very hot water temperatures as well. So we can actually, when we think about what we're going to be doing in the future in trying to improve water quality, we're going to think a lot about the nitrates because they're going down and hurting one of the best lagoons in the state. So thank you all for doing this. We have a lot of work cut out for us, and I appreciate you all being here. Thank you.